What is Super League?
Fast.
Painful.
Hectic.
Exciting.
Decision making.
Tactical.
Entertaining.
Action-packed.
Intense.
Furious.
It's like we're heading into the unknown. Position is key.
This is Super League.
Et c'est magnifique.
Yes, Super League Triathlon is certainly all of that. We found that out yesterday here in Jersey with the triple mix. Plenty of casualties and plenty of fantastic racing. And we're going to find out again today with the Eliminator on. Will deploy alongside me, dual world champion Chris McCormack, dual Olympic gold medalist Alistair Brownlee, and Rio bronze medalist Vicky Holland. And we're going to run through it all right now. You're excited. I know the Eliminator is your favourite format.
Without question, the elimination format's exciting racing. You have to survive each round with only the third stage counting.
It's very, very tactical, this one, Ali. We've talked about that one a lot, and it's an interesting race because of the tactics.
Interesting, really interesting. 2 races within 1 race. We talk about it as the devil takes hind in terms of there's going to be sprint finishes for 15 to not get eliminated. Of course, the other thing, if you're in the top 3, the only race that matters is that last race, the last 100 metres, and if it comes down to that, you know, it's anyone's.
Yeah, we saw Richard Murray just finish just inside the bubble a couple of times and come through and win it $100,000 in Hamilton Island. Big learning curve for the women. They learnt plenty at the triple mix and they'll learn plenty now.
Yeah, I spoke to a few of them last night and at breakfast this morning. Some of them are really tired after a hard day's racing yesterday. 3 races today, potentially another 3 to go today. It's new for them.
It is indeed. Vicky, we'll say goodbye to you right now. Have fun out there in the rain in the transition area. We'll stay up here where it's nice and warm. And we'll have a look right now at the women. There's been plenty of excitement from the women, the 25 best athletes in the world. It's been fantastic to have them here and they're incredibly excited. Here's an introduction to some of them.
Jersey marks the debut of the women in Super League Triathlon, and if the men have taught us anything, it's that no reputation is safe. 2013 World Champ Non Stanford and Commonwealth Games gold medalist Jodie Stimpson are sure to be in the mix.
It's awesome to be here. I remember watching it when it was in Hamilton Island with the men, and I was just jealous. It's the total unknown. In one way, you need the endurance to get through all the events, but then you still need the speed to get to that point. So it's going to be a total mixture.
Throw in current world duathlon champ Emma Pallant and young gun Sophie Caldwell, and the British contingent is strong.
It kind of feels like a bit of a home event, like loads of us Brits coming over to do it, and we're such good friends off the course as well, so I think hopefully we can maybe work together and try and overthrow the Americans.
The rivalries run deep, and the American challenge will be headed by Katie Zafiris, second in the recent World Series Grand Final, alongside Californian lifeguard Taylor Spivey.
I think this format suits the well-rounded triathlete. You can't be strong at one discipline. I think you have to be a smart racer.
It's such a balance just between make sure you're conserving the energy to last over the 2 days and the multiple races, but also being fast enough to make it to the last day and make it into the final rounds. So I think I'm just going to try and find that sweet spot.
Europe boasts some real class as well. Watch out for sprint specialist Claire Michel, former junior world champion Emmy Chararon, and Dutch favourite Rachel Klammer.
I used to be pretty bad in short distances, but I've showed the last couple of years that I'm actually getting better at that too, because I mean my first WTS medal and my only one was on a short distance.
It's unique. It will be my first time to change the order of the triathlon, so I will see it.
Everyone has a chance here, but if you make a little mistake, you're gone.
The course may be short, but the challenge will be intense.
Probably the toughest part is diving back in the water when your legs are completely stuffed already, because we're not used to that. Normally we dive in the water and we feel good, we feel fresh, so that'll be the biggest challenge, I think.
Away from sport, life can present some other challenges too. Just ask 2012 Olympic champion Nicola Spirig.
4 months ago I gave birth to my second child, Malaya, and I was lucky I could start training again really soon after giving birth. I think I'm still having a chance.
This is one of the strongest women's fields ever assembled, and they're about to take on one of triathlon's greatest tests.
you don't know who's good at this format and you don't know who's going to do well, and everybody's a threat.
I'm going to be realistic and hope for a top 5. The whole concept's amazing, like loads of sports going to be here, and yeah, I'm really excited for it.
Everyone is so excited for the race and talking about it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, the triple mix certainly threw everything at the female athletes and the male athletes, and now they have to back up and do it all again. That's what Super League is all about, being fast but also having the stamina. Here is the schedule for today. Up next and very soon is the Women's Eliminator. We'll crown our women's champ, our very first one, and then the Men's Eliminator. We'll wrap it all up at 1600, so in about 3 hours' time. That will be fantastic as well. But right now, let's have a look at some of the highlights from the triple mix yesterday.
Here we go, the first ever Women's Super League event. Wow, Linderman into the barrier. Look at this from Spirit, 35 years young, she's in front. And Sophie wins the inaugural Women's Triple Mix.
Yes, the sun was shining, the crowds were out here in Jersey, and Katie Zafiris took first blood, 25 points for her. Here is the standings after day one, and there's not much in it. Plenty of experience up the front with Zafiris and Nicola Spierig, the 35-year-old, 5 years older than anyone else. Kirsten Casper, the 2 Americans, Claire Michelle, Sophie Caldwell, Carolina Routier, Jodie Stimson, Rachel Klammer and Anastasia Abrasimova, the only ones to actually finish the triple mix because of the 90-second elimination rule. Speaking of the Eliminator, let's have a look now at how it is all going to play out. Once again, it's a 3-stage race, but this time it's swim, bike, run each time, 10 minutes break between each stages, unless if you finish not first, you pay less there. Top 15 finishes proceeds to stage 2, and then the top 10 shootout. The winner of the Eliminator is the person crossing the line first in stage 3. It's going to be a fantastic race, a hugely tactical race, as we've talked about as well. We're going to have a look right now at the course. It has certainly provided a huge test, technically, for all of these athletes. The swim amongst the super yachts in Elizabeth Bay Marina is 130 metres out to the first buoy, a hard left turn, and then 70 metres and another turn into transition, and a very interesting transition it is too, Ali.
Really tough steep climb up onto the marina wall there, and it's straight into transition.
Yeah, certainly. And then the bike, 7 turns, all sharp turns pretty much, and not a lot of time to get up to full speed. So it favours an explosive athlete and a good technical rider, especially in this weather.
And we saw that yesterday in both the men's and women's races. This bike course set up all those front-performing athletes. The ones that were aggressive were very well rewarded.
You had to be brave, didn't you, Ali?
Definitely, but there's not a lot of room to attack. It's all about committing round corners on this course.
Just like the course at Hamilton Island, it's 2 kilometres on the run, but it's a very different 2 kilometres. It's still a very difficult one, and by the time we arrived at the run a couple of times yesterday, the field was very stretched.
Yeah, you saw Katie Zafiris yesterday. She was very, very good in and out of the turns, and that actually won her the event.
You have to be quick around those corners because there's a lot of dead turns, and you need to be able to get up to full speed quickly.
Yeah, definitely. We saw people make the difference on some of the corners. I mean, a run's a run, but people got a little bit of advantage. Just a couple of metres can win the race.
Yeah, if you have an engine like Katie Zafiris or Christian Blumenfeld, you can do the job, and that's why they have 25 points. Right now, we're going to get a first-hand look at the course, and Ali's going to take us through it. Who better to do that? It's not actually on his bike. It's a little bit faster. It's a motorbike, but you're going to take us through it right now. You ready for this?
Let's go.
All right, let's see it.
So here we are on board a super fast course recon on a motorbike, and we're just heading out through transition now, and the first thing of note is the mountain line just here. Don't jump on your bike before it. Going around the first corner, this is a 180-degree dead turn. It's going to be pretty slippy in the wet. I've been out to look at it already, and we saw some guys yesterday not even get on the bike until they got round it. They think it's that slow. The only real straight bit out through transition here, and as we look up the road and we go off the black carpet onto the kind of brick surface, which could possibly be slippy, slight uphill, and we're going into a really sharp left-hand bend here with some really tough different road surfaces and a really, really narrow exit back onto the tarmac. We saw people make a lot of that corner, into the drag, going up to it, and then down onto this downhill. You know, if you can just extend that gap out a few metres, you might just be able to get an advantage. going down into another 180-degree turn, which is effectively round a roundabout. We saw all the guys get around this much faster than the motorbikes yesterday, and then as they start going out the corner, there's just a slight incline, maybe only 1% or 2%, but it was enough. If you can just get a 1 or 2 metre gap, either to put the people behind you under pressure, or maybe just give you a chance to make a move. As we get back up here, we're in wide road again, but it's just flattening out. This is definitely the fastest part of the course, and the only chance for someone to get a slight breather if they can. Sharp right-hand bend here, but not too dangerous. Pretty wide road. Slight downhill back onto the harbour, but really, this is a tough corner. Things to watch out for, tough surfaces, and a narrow exit again. Onto the side of the marina now. The great atmosphere here, yesterday was great. Loads of crowds, and I think the athletes would have really enjoyed that. Really tight left-hander, back into transition. Again, will be really tough in the wet. And the last thing to look at is the dismount line there. Make sure you get off before that.
Very good and great insight as well. Now, that was shot in the dry. It is now not dry at all, although I heard a word in my ear just then saying the sun is peeking out. Looking behind me, I think that could be British optimism. What do you guys think about what it's going to be like in the rain?
Yeah, well, I think the sun coming out is optimism at its best at the moment. But, yeah, I've been out to look at it already, and actually some of those granite tiles are a lot more grippy than they look. Whether the athletes have worked that out or yet, I'm not sure, but there are some tough bits. I think, to be honest, this bottom corner, the first 180-degree turn, is probably the worst out there.
All right, well, that's where you want to be if you're coming down here to watch. Be there, because that's where the crashes will be, no doubt. I hope there's some. I hope everyone's okay, but it's always spectacular. Emma Jeffcoat will start in position 1 once again on the best spot on the pontoon. Samira Albertar, Jodie Stimson, Emma Pallant, Nicola Spierig's out there in number 9. We move further down. Charlotte McShane, the Aussies there. Laura Linderman will back up for that crash yesterday. Non-Stanford, Lucy Hall, 19 and 20. Claire Michel was great yesterday. The 2 Russians, Maria Sharets and Elena Danilova, as we continue our build-up to the Eliminator for the women. We're continuing our build-up now to what will be a fantastic race, or a group of 3 stages, and when we arrive at the end, we'll have our new queen, and will it be Katie Zafiris?
Looking at yesterday's form, it looks like that's the case. I think if anyone can challenge her, it's Nicola Spierig, but those two were well and truly in control yesterday.
Can someone else throw a spanner in the mix, do you think?
I think it's going to be hard, but what we really have to remember here is at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to that last race. You know, the girls who were in the top 3, top 5, the elimination isn't actually going to play too much, an effect for them, and it could come down to the last 100 metres. We saw Summer Cook run fantastically. Yep. We haven't mentioned that yet. You know, she could come through for the run there.
As the girls are lining up, you'll notice that although we thought that they were going to line up in the same positions as yesterday, they're choosing their own position on the pontoon.
Yeah, which changes everything. I guess they're going off yesterday's finished positions to go down and pick their spot on the pontoon. That'll change things. We saw yesterday the right-hand side of the start pontoon was definitely the slower side.
All right, well, what do we think's going to happen here? I don't know what's going to happen. I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it's the fantastic thing about all the races so far is they're unpredictable. Yeah, and I think we can't predict it. It's going to be fantastic to see.
Yeah.
All right, stage 1, the Eliminator coming up very, very shortly as well. We can see the girls warming up. That's Emmy Chararon there just warming up the shoulders because it's very, very cold in the water, but no wetsuits because Macca doesn't allow it, so good work from you. The girls are all there, lined up, ready to go. Who is in there in position number 1? It's hard to tell the difference between everyone. There is Laura Linderman there. She's got a few grazes on her face, but we're about to get things underway. The water looking very cold but nice and still. Down now to Trevor Harris and Emma Snowsill in the commentary box.
Thank you very much indeed, Will. Thanks very much indeed, Will. We are feeling the excitement here, just seconds away from the start of the Women's Eliminator. And whatever order they're in on that start pontoon, one thing is for sure, 3 of the top 4 currently are from the USA. It's American dominance we saw yesterday, Emma, and we may well see more of it today.
It's going to be exciting. I mean, I think the only thing with the few Californians in the field, whether or not they're going to enjoy this cooler weather. I did see one of the fathers this morning, and he did say that his daughter was racing, and it wasn't quite the conditions she was used to. So I understand where he's coming from.
The rain has just eased off a little, but it's going to be cold in that water. Here's the moment of truth for these 24. So away they go. It's a 300-metre swim. And just a reminder that this is the first of 3 eliminator stages, and in this particular event, 16th to 25th place eliminated. They're out of here, so you can't afford to get left behind in the water. That's obvious. But we're going to see some interesting tactics on the bike and the run, Emma, particularly for those, the Zafirez's, the Spirigs, the Cooks, the Caspers at the front, because they don't have to come in the top 10 necessarily. As long as they get through, not a problem.
It is a little bit about staying safe. I mean, in obviously these first 2 races, you know, they've still got to get through. They've still got to come through unscathed, and, you know, particularly given that the roads are now wet. Looking at the likes of Nicola and Katie yesterday on the bike, I think obviously they're the 2 who are most controlling that part. But again, you know, it's still a race within the race, and they've all got to get through it and obviously hopefully avoid that elimination. But right now it looks like we've got a Brit out the front, really trying to stretch out the swim straight away.
It's a mindset to a degree, isn't it? Because they're so used to competing, going full gas and winning, or trying to somehow rein yourself in could be tricky.
Well, we sort of saw, you know, a couple of times some athletes in no man's land, and, you know, whether they're waiting behind for the group or they're trying to chase hard. And I think the likes of someone like Jodie Stimson and Sophie Caldwell, who are working together yesterday really well, this is somewhere, because we don't have that accumulated time, and the 90-second rule probably won't come into as much effect. It could actually benefit some of those, and as Alistair also said, the Summer Cook, you know, she's got to play a really smart game, and if she's there in the last race, she has the potential to win today.
Looks like it could possibly be Sophie Caldwell out front. I can see Routier lying currently in 3rd place. Routier actually starts the day in 7th, which maybe is a bit higher than a lot of us thought, because she's not renowned for her biking and running particularly.
Typically we see her out the front of the swim. I mean, Sophie Caldwell's obviously a phenomenal little athlete, and you know, really taking charge. And we mentioned yesterday she seems far more mature than you know, given her actual age. And I think it's fantastic to see that, you know, she can show her strengths in this sort of racing. But Caroline has always been there in the swim. She's always leading in the WTS races, and she has placed consistently well yesterday. So she's also someone we've got to really be, you know, keep an eye on, because we didn't mention a lot about her, but she was there consistently throughout the day.
Taylor Spivey right up there, as you would expect. She's an excellent swimmer. Talking about Sophie Caldwell up front, she starts the day in 6th place, so 12 points. The problem for those like Caldwell, Claire Michel in 5th, Casper in 4th, it's not just that they've got to have a stellar day if they want to take the overall round, it's that those in front of them have to underperform, and of course they've not got much control over that.
They're all putting, you know, different pressure on themselves, and I mean, just the fact that you have 3 girls in one single line like this shows that the pace is on in the swim. If anyone was thinking about holding back, you would see more of them up front, you know, more closely grouped together, sitting on each other's shoulder or on the hip. But the fact that they're just completely strung out shows you that, you know, the pace is on. This is a race within the race today, and, you know, we've got to approach it accordingly.
So Caldwell, it looks like, is going to lead them as they come out the water shortly. Spivey right up there as well. So it's the usual suspects, those you'd expect to do well. Now, a few of them had problems here yesterday on this exit, slipping and sliding around. Not so much the leaders, it's more when they come in en masse in about 2 or 3 seconds' time. Just about now.
That was a good swim from Charlotte McShane there, getting out of the water, and probably in the front of the middle of this group here. But like you mentioned, it is tricky in those, you know, all those sort of environments, getting out of the swim like that. But we have our leaders, Sophie Caldwell again up the front. We have seen her yesterday, and yeah, Caroline Routier, we're always, you know, familiar with seeing her out front of the swim.
Kirsten Casper was prominent as well. She comes in 4th overall, remember. So all they have to do, the leading few, is just make sure they stay in the game. Don't make any mistakes. But of course, with a wet bike course, there could well be issues.
Nicola Spirig was definitely in the mix there, just 26 seconds. So we saw yesterday she was probably a little bit further out of the water, but she really managed to make her way through, you know, that group fairly quickly.
We mentioned Taylor Spivey had a good swim. Let's go down to Vic. He's got some more information about Taylor.
Yeah, I was actually stood at the start line yesterday and saw Taylor had a really, really bad start. She didn't move forward on the take your marks, and everyone left the pontoon while she was still stood about half a metre back from her start position. So she went in the water dead last yesterday, had a terrible swim, and that kind of ruined her whole day. She never really got back on terms. She ended up getting eliminated in the final round. Today she's had a much more solid swim. She's sort of in the middle of the pack. Hopefully that'll set her up for a better day.
Thanks very much indeed, Vicky. Yeah, well, she certainly got the swim part of it right today as we welcome Ali Brownlee into the commentary box. You can see already, Ali, on this bike course, there's some surface water around.
Yeah, I've actually been out to have a look at the surface conditions, and at the roundabout that we just see Sophie Caldwell going around now, I think it's probably one of the dodgiest bits. The tarmac's slippy, really slick, and anything on it will make it really dangerous today.
So remember, 5 laps it is on the bike, 5 laps of 1 kilometre each. And Caldwell not standing on ceremony here. Remember, there's absolutely no benefit in winning this particular stage. As long as you come top 15, there's not an issue. But you've got to stay in it. We saw Linderman of Germany come to grief yesterday into the barrier, although she did carry on bravely, and she's okay. She's got a few marks on her face because of that, but fortunately nothing serious as she is in the race today. There is no Lucy Hall, incidentally, not feeling too well, so Lucy's not in the field. It leaves 24 of them.
What we are seeing is this race just splinter up straight away. You'd expect this on a course like this that's technical. When it gets wet, it just gets that much harder, and it completely it highlights the differences between the cornering abilities between the good, more confident, not so confident athletes. And okay, there's Jodie just behind her there, and Sophie in front, Caroline Routier in third. You might say there's not an advantage in pushing and trying to win, but there is an advantage in staying safe, staying on your own, staying out of trouble and not crashing. And I think, for me, Sophie's doing absolutely the right thing. She's controlling the race, she's staying safe, out front, and making sure that she qualifies.
Look, we talked about that just before, that, you know, for these two athletes, it really could be a benefit that they do take charge early on in the race, and I think they are positioning themselves in the best place possible, particularly on this course. I mean, we saw yesterday the stronger athletes taking charge on the bike, you know, especially within the men's race, you know, if they didn't feel confident in the rider in front of them. But given now that it's wet, I think everybody really has to take, obviously, their own measures into their own hands.
Safia's just towards the back of the field, but that's not a major issue. She knows exactly where she is in terms of how many that they've got to be behind her, so she's not going to take any chances, and she's so proficient at all 3 disciplines, swim, bike and run. You can't imagine she'd have a problem unless there's some kind of crash, and of course she did come off the bike in Stockholm a couple of weeks back.
Yeah, you never know, and for me, I wouldn't want anyone in front of me on a day like this, on a course like this, just for pure safety reasons, and so you don't know. Just seen her go past there, and she doesn't look the most confident going around some of these corners, but you know, we saw, like you said, great at 3 disciplines, and I think she'll be okay coming onto the run. Linderman doing well there. A crash doesn't seem to have dented her confidence from yesterday. Yeah, this is the group that currently are towards the back, and this is the group we'll be predominantly concentrating on, because they are the ones at risk. They are the ones that could literally be gone in around about 12-15 minutes time. There's Linderman. You can see the scars of battle on her face from that crash yesterday. But seeing Nicholas Berg, she's been on the front of that group mostly. I saw Non-Stanford take a couple of turns, but mostly Nicholas Berg, as you'd expect, on the front driving the bike pack.
Well, I think, you know, maybe we have a matter of youth on our, you know, on our side here with Sophie, you know, taking charge and maybe recovering better as well. And I think we saw yesterday with Katie, though, she in the first race she wasn't hesitant, but she just felt like she, you know, it seemed as if she got warmed up and more confident over the course, and maybe that's what we're seeing from her today. But at the end of the day, you know, she's still got to stay, you know, within contention. So something she's really got to think about, you know, how long does she leave herself in order to, you know, I guess come to terms with the conditions of the bike at the moment.
Well, we got trouble straight away. Trying to see who that is.
I think that's Linderman again on the bottom there.
I think it might be Emma Pallant as well.
No, it's the Canadian girl, and yeah, that's Emma Pallant just getting back on a bike. They've crashed on the straight bit of road as well.
Yeah, Pallant is one, along with the Canadian athlete Desiree Rudenor.
Oh, you know what's happened? They're on the tape on the carpet,
yeah.
And they've obviously slowed down going into that dead turn and braked, and they've just completely lost control.
Yeah,
there.
Rudenor down, and Pallant had absolutely nowhere to go apart from straight into her.
Yeah, so this is we're seeing she's just oh, that's is that? Oh, that's Pallant, isn't it? Emma Pallant trying what she can to get herself back in the race. To be fair to her, she's a great runner, so if she can get herself back in touch, she might just be able to make that top 15 and not get eliminated.
There's ridden all right behind, so at least credit to both women. They're back on the bikes and okay by the looks of things.
Sophie Caldwell looks like she's extending her lead. I mean, Jodie has is obviously doing a good job in keeping her in sight, but it would seem that both those two are even putting a little bit of time into those chases.
Yeah, definitely. I actually think Jodie's caught her up a little bit, but these are both girls that live and train in Loughborough in the UK. They're very, very used to these conditions. They know what wet roads look like and feel like, and they're at a massive advantage here in that respect.
Interesting tactics from Sophie Caldwell. She's got a handy lead. Not that she needs to finish first. Let's get down to Vicky. He's got some more info about Sophie.
Yeah, I've been listening to what you guys are saying, and the only thing I can add as to why Sophie's really driving this first race on so early is that she might be just trying to do some damage to those girls behind. She knows it doesn't matter where she finishes, but she could potentially take out one of the big contenders early on if she pushes it on.
Well, we've got more drama here. That looked like Barbara Riveros, who's down. There's someone also down behind her.
That's Jeff Coate from Australia down behind her. Exactly the same again, like Emma said before. That black tape that we can just see now in the middle of the carpet is lethal. It's really, really slippy. And now, with a couple of those taken out, we've got Spivey from the US of A really pushing that pack on.
And it just adds to the whole unpredictability of the event. Not just a format that's completely new to these women. You throw in these conditions and litten anything could happen.
It's probably a part of the course we really didn't anticipate that much at all happening, because typically when those carpets are wet, I mean, it feels like as soon as you hit them on the bike, someone's deflated your tyres and you slow down and lose any speed. But if anything, it looks like they could even be ripping that carpet up. It's just become too much of a problem.
It did. It's not the carpet, it's the problem. It's the tape. So I think I'd be looking at that. But yeah, we're back with Sophie now, who just looks really comfortable and confident on these corners. And most of the people, exactly like we're saying about Zephyrus, it's about keeping safe. And most of the people who've been taken out in those crashes are people behind the first person who's crashed. So that's exactly why you probably just want clear air in front of you, not another biker.
Last we heard of Zephyrus, she was in 18th place. Well, obviously she can't afford to finish there, but we've still got more laps on the bike, and then of course the run to come. We know what a stellar runner she can be, and doing what she has to, she only has to be in the top 15.
Yeah, I think she's probably doing the right thing, biding her time at the back of that pack.
That's Albitar, who's come to grief by the look of it.
I think she's been eliminated on the 90-second rule. She was a bit back out to swim, and then she just must have lost that time.
Yeah, so she's been eliminated on that rule both days now.
I think Jodie and Sophie have been 4 seconds apart for most of this bike, actually, so they're pretty much on par. Charlotte McShane there in third, with Routier, and then Spirig still on the front driving that along. I think she's probably playing it safe but doing a great job. We've got Zephyrus back here just getting gapped from the back of that group. That tells me that she's probably not that confident in the wet, which is going to be really interesting in the next few races. There she's really, really not enjoying that wet slippy corner there, went really wide and having to pedal a massive gear out of it because she's gone around so slow. And you don't want to be over safe. There's safe and there's over safe.
Exactly, and I mean, obviously she does back her run, but this is still top 15 she has to make it into, and we've seen the crashes, we've seen the little mistakes. It doesn't matter how safe you think you're being. Unfortunately, there are athletes in front of you that could potentially make it all become undone for you.
Well, she currently is in 16th place. However, she's only a couple of seconds, if that, behind the likes of Jerzyk, Casper, Brosimova, Summer Cook. So the Americans kind of sticking together, kind of in mid-division, so to speak, as Caldwell goes on her merry way up front.
Well, Jodie's certainly done her work and caught up to Sophie, and the girls are almost ready to get off their bikes and get out there and to transition, seeing them already undo their shoes. So particularly in that, I guess, that second half of the course, it's a little bit more technical there, so it's always better to have your feet out of your shoes, or at least the straps undone when you don't have much room before you get to that dismount line.
It was a good effort from Kirsten Casper to at least be in the mix still, because she was another who went down on that slippery part of the course, but she's currently racing in around about 14th to 15th place as Sophie Caldwell and Jodie are off the bikes.
See, the thing is here, all these girls will know that the most damaging part of this early race is having to run hard. And basically, Sophie and Jodie can pretty much jog this next 2K. They can have a nice, easy run. They know they've got 12 seconds on third place and a lot more on 15th place, and that could really benefit them later on. And they're out of the trouble of all this big pack we're seeing coming in behind them now. And you know, Zafiris, for example, is going to probably have to race quite hard for that 15th place.
Well, Casper's done well to get back to 11th, as you can see there. The question is, where's Zafiris? She's just sneaked inside the top 15, so as things stand, she's fine.
But she's still got the likes of some good runners behind her. I mean, Summer Cook's there with her, so you know, nothing's a given in this course. And again, you know, there could be something as silly as a slippery cobble out there that you know, you are able to fall down running too. So we just hope that, you know, none of those things come into play. But you could see it just then as she went around that turnaround. She did have a look over her shoulder, so I wonder if she's already counting.
Yeah, I think the important thing here is there's 17 women in that pack. The next person behind is another 10 seconds back. So I think we can fairly safely say that there's 2 people from this big pack we're seeing running through now that aren't going to make it. And so actually now we've just got to look at the race for the last 2 or 3 and see what happens. The race at the front doesn't matter anymore.
No, absolutely. Zafiris, you just saw, just passing a couple of runners along with Summer Cook, who's right behind her. So at the moment, things are OK. Also, too, of course, for Nicola Spirik, who was much more bold on the bike than Katie Zafiris was.
Katie Zafiris is fine, though. She's absolutely safe. She's made her way up into probably about 10th place, I'd say there. So safely inside the top 15. And she's doing the right thing. She doesn't need to go any harder at all. Conserve.
Yeah, that's smart racing. The 2 Brits up front. But remember, no real advantage coming first and second. And as Andy was saying, they're kind of out on a little training run here, the 2 of them.
Yeah, I mean, they train together all the time. This might be familiar for them. And, yeah, I think it's all about pacing this sensibly now for both of them. They could afford to run a fair bit slower. It doesn't matter if 10 of those girls catch them at all. They should save all the energy they possibly can.
Taylor Spivey is one we believe is possibly in danger on that bubble as we look at Abrosimova.
I think it's these 2, the last 2 out the pack of 17. So that and the girl in front of her.
Emma Jeffcoat also in big trouble. Looks like she's not going to make it. Claire Michel is also right towards the back, and she came in 5th.
Something we probably didn't expect after seeing her perform so brilliantly yesterday. But yeah, I think all these front runners, they're certainly looking comfortable. They don't look like they're putting too much pressure on themselves. I think Jodie and Sophie as well at the front. I think they're not running at their fastest, but they're trying to keep in contention with just, you know, keeping their bodies also warm. Don't forget, I mean, it's a short turnaround, and the temperature is a little bit cooler than yesterday. They're not swimming with wetsuits, so they both look like they're out on a bit of a training run, if anything.
Yeah, I think they're probably just quite enjoying this. It's a shame that the crowds aren't quite what they were yesterday. The spirits are a bit dampened from the weather, but yeah, you can see Zafira is brilliant again. You know, just at the back of that pack, she knows she doesn't need to do any more. She's going to do the minimum she possibly can get away with.
Yeah, there's Taylor Spivey just on the back of that group, followed by Linderman.
I think they are numbers 14 and 15. So as it stands, I think Linderman is 15. We'll see how she goes through now.
So the likes of Jerzyk obviously in trouble, along with Jeffcoat and others, but we'll get the official timings, as Annie said, as they go through to hear the bell with 1,000 metres left in this first stage of the Eliminator.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether these races, effectively very, very similar three races, are they going to play out similar again? You know, if Sophie can take the swim out, is she just going to push the bike again and just try and draw the field out? Will she get the chance to do that? I'm sure that's what she wants to do.
Sophia is nice and safely in the pack. Non-Stanford having a better day today than yesterday, where she was out on the 92nd rule. Linderman is currently in 14th place, so whoever's behind her, might be Jerzyk, is at the moment going to get it. In fact, it's Abrosimova, and Jerzyk is in trouble, although it might be a sprint on with Abrosimova to see who'll get through out of those two.
Yeah, so this is the race, basically. These two are racing to stay in the competition at the moment, and I think looking at her face, we can tell.
So I would think that Sophie, I mean, would take so much confidence, you know, in racing the way she has just in this race. She would want to attack it in the same way, you know, going into the second and third if she makes it through. And like we said from yesterday, that they both race brilliantly, but you know, you sort of lose a little bit of sight because of Katie and Nicola. But I think both of them are actually proving extremely consistent right now.
Well, this is the race within the race. It's Abrosimova and Jerzyk, and at the moment, the Russian is getting the better of the pole. Claire Michel's in real trouble.
They're saying she's in 16th, though, which means both of Jerzyk and Abrissimova would make it 14th and 15th. But that's not what we saw on the last lap.
No, it wasn't. We'll try and get you confirmation of that. And I think from their point of view, they've got to assume that it is 15th and 16th, even if eventually it turns out they will both qualify. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, you want to be rather safe than sorry in this situation, wouldn't you? You can see Emma Pallant back there in, well, 16th or 17th or 18th. We're not sure on the results at the moment, but yeah, she's out. And I think that little crash, just someone crashing in front of her on the bike, has cost her.
I'm just wondering how much the efforts of yesterday, Emma, took it out of Claire Michel, because we saw her race so much better just 24 hours ago.
Exactly, the nature of this racing. I mean, how much you expend yourself, and unfortunately there's not a lot of chance to figure it out other than just to go out there and to race with all your heart. And again, you know, some of these girls just may not be feeling as warmed up, one, the conditions, and two, just the fatigue from yesterday.
Well, Michelle's now got Abrissimova in her sight. She's gone past Jerzyk, so there might be more drama there.
Yeah, she's moving through. We're not entirely sure whether she needs to overtake one of that pair or both of them, but she's looking like she's going to get Abrissimova, and that would mean that she's safe and can go into the next round. Sophie and Jodie are, I think, just on complete cruise now. They know the job's done, and they're hopefully already thinking about the next stage. There you go, Michelle's overtaken her, and definitely in the position now that she's going to make it into the next round.
Well, she's found something from somewhere.
As long as she stays there, of course.
Yeah, absolutely, and we can't take anything for granted in this format and in these conditions.
Yeah, Zafira is there, still at the back of that group. She's been there for the entire race. And non-Stanford just there is also going to make it, and then she's probably biding her time, and thankfully she's probably feeling a bit better than yesterday, so she's happy about that. Sun is actually coming out there as well. It's looking a bit brighter.
Let's hope it stays out. It's one of the things that you heard Vicky saying earlier about Caldwell's tactics to try and disrupt those behind her. But Zafira is experienced, and so is Nicola Spirig, obviously. I'm not sure these tactics are going to disrupt them too much. At the moment, the three leaders overnight, Zafira, Spirig and Cook, in the perfect positions.
But I think this is the race here. Presuming Abrissimova and Michelle are 15th and 16th, you just saw Michelle putting in an acceleration there to gap Abrissimova and get a bit of daylight between them. And that could be the move that gets her into the next round.
And this is the key element of it. Abrissimova still trailing by 15-20 metres. The leaders, meanwhile, have the finish line in sight.
Nicola Spirig's actually chosen to run a bit harder than all the others in this race. She's pulled away from the girls behind her and caught up Jodie and Sophia. I wonder if that was a tactic to keep her warm or not, or that's just her determined attitude.
They're going to go across together. You saw that nice little look across from Jodie. So Stimson will call with the two Brits first and second. Not that that really matters. Cook is safely through. There's Zafira, who came in as a series leader. And most of the big names look to be OK. Linderman's done really well after that crash yesterday.
Yeah, Routier just coming over the line there as well. Looks to be having a bit of day. And this is Michelle, 15th. There you go. The graphic was wrong, so she's not made it.
So Claire Michel is the last qualifier, and the likes of Abrissimova and others have been eliminated. Jerzyk there, she won't be involved again today.
And Emma Pallant, that crash costing her everything, even though it wasn't her own fault.
Yeah, well, sometimes all's not fair in love and war, and Pallant, very unfortunate, very early in that bike discipline to go down, had nowhere to go with a rider in front of her. And all these women that you're watching now, they are all eliminated. No room for sentiment in the Super League Triathlon, and of course the 10-minute recovery period starts as soon as the first athlete crosses the line, which was Jodie together with her British teammate Sophie. So those finishing further down the field have less time to recover, but then I guess you could argue, Ali, that they haven't been running as hard anyway.
Yeah, definitely not. Well, who knows? Who knows? I think the people at the back end might have actually, some of them, like Michelle, probably had to run pretty hard there to keep her position. It's going to be interesting to see the different tactics in the recovery today than it was yesterday, you know? It was pretty warm yesterday. It was about getting a bit of water and nutrition on and just staying loose. Today, it's whether it's that little bit colder, whether they get a bit of clothes on and try and dry off, maybe that comes into a play. Although, to be honest with you, although it's overcast, it feels quite humid and still fairly warm to me. So I think although even though the temperature looks a bit of an issue, I don't think it is. I think it's actually a really comfortable, humid, we'd call it muggy in Britain, racing temperature.
Yeah, well, the good news is that the rain has stopped. The sun is trying to sneak its way through. The crowd is increasing even in the last few minutes. So more souls have come out to watch some of the best women ever assembled in a triathlon field, and that's the woman who is in control.
She's got a possible crash wound there on a hip. We didn't see her go down.
We'll try and find out with that. Let's get down and hear from Claire Michel.
Well, we have Claire Michel. You just scraped into 15th. I mean, did the effects of yesterday, are they coming and taking their toll?
Yeah, they're definitely taking their toll, but it's totally different conditions today. And, if you can keep the rubber side down, that already makes a really big difference, and just avoid the others that are falling.
So you're really noticing the effects of the weather compared to yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I even had a crash in the warm-up, so it kind of spooked me a little bit, but just got to hang in there.
So now it's a matter of making, it's another elimination round. You're hoping to try and stay a little bit safer in this round and hopefully warm up a little bit more into it and not cut it so fine.
Right, yeah, and hopefully a little bit better swim.
Well, we wish you all the best of luck. Go recover quickly.
Thanks very much indeed, Emma. Yeah, so you heard her say there she wasn't happy with her swim and she maybe had to put in more effort, as Alistair surmised on the run, than maybe she would have wanted to ideally, but she is at least there then for the second stage. Well, there's the final result from that first stage. Stimson and Caldwell crossed the line together. Spirik, she's so competitive. Then Klarma, Casper, McShane, Cook, Zafirez, Chalion and Santos. No big-name casualties, I guess you'd say, Ali.
No, and we've got to keep remembering the important thing about these results we're looking at right now is that the favourites, the people who are up there from yesterday, are still in it, and they are. Nicholas Spirik is still there. So, I think as long as they're there, it literally wouldn't have mattered if they were 14th or 15th.
Indeed. But Abrosimova, Jerzik and the others you saw there, they'll be taking no further part, and we're well into the 10-minute rest and recuperation period. Some are sporting a range of cunning disguises. One way to not be interviewed, I guess.
Who is number 2? I don't know. Yeah, and we're just seeing them now out there. Most of them have just finished, racking their bikes and doing those little bits and pieces. The racks are on the other side today. I'm not sure of what the reason for that is. Maybe we'll find out. I'm sure there is a reason. And they're just keeping moving out there. I think 10 minutes is a really short amount of time when you come in and you've got to catch your breath. And then you've got to go out and do the technical things on your bike.
Plenty of drama already. And there is plenty more to come. That was a nice touch, wasn't it? I thought Jodie and Sophie towards the end there, bit of British solidarity as they cross the line together.
I think they were very impressed with each other's efforts, working together, training together, and played it extremely safe to stay upright in these conditions. As many of the girls have said, not even just during the race, in the warm-up they've come down. So I think you just got to, have a little bit of luck on your side at this point in the game too.
They're out there working hard on the carpet now. I think it looks like they're taking up the carpet where it goes into and out of the corner. As I said before, the carpet actually isn't the problem. It's the tape holding the carpet together. And we're just seeing Casper there, who we saw her have a fall, but she got back on really quickly and she was straight on the back of that group.
Well, at least Casper's still in. Agnieszka Jerzik isn't. She's downstairs talking to us.
Hi Agnieszka, so you were really close to getting in there, 17th position. Must be a bit disappointed with that?
No, I'm not disappointed because yesterday I was very bad start. This race was better for me. My season is not so perfect because I have problem with motivation after Olympics Rio. I have fun here and good experience. It's so exciting.
It's a great event to be a part of. We're glad that you came. Hopefully you'll be at another round and can last a bit longer in the Eliminator.
Yeah, I hope next season in Poznań in Poland is to Super League Triathlon, and I hope I prepared more better than this event next year.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, she doesn't seem too upset about it, but I'm sure there are others who would have liked to have seen her qualify. Well, it's a much brighter picture now than it was even maybe 10 or 15 minutes ago, but still pretty cool in the water. We saw, Emma, just before we took that interview, there was quite a nasty gash on Kirsten Casper's leg where she went down. So there's a few of them sporting a few scars of battle out there.
There'll certainly be some medical people who are busy this afternoon. I mean, poor Laura had quite some scrapes on her face just from yesterday, but many of them are sporting some skin off. And again, it's just the conditions are just not lending itself to the most versatile, being out there and staying upright on the bike. And unfortunately, the girls, and I'm sure we're going to see with the men later on, if it stays the same, that they may run into the same bits of trouble.
So we're seeing them line up here, getting the choice where they start on the pontoon in the order that they finished. So that does actually tell us there's a bit of an advantage to the position you finish in the race before. So we've been talking the last 2 days about how that right-hand side you've got to swim probably at 5 metres further round. So some of the girls that have finished a bit lower down the order have definitely got a worse swim start position.
Might be more of an advantage in the third stage when it's a race to win rather than just to qualify. But we're going to lose 5 women in this second stage. 11th to 15th will go. And so now it starts to get really serious for those that remain. Very close now to the start time for our stage 2 eliminator. Let's check on the start list then. These are the survivors. And as I mentioned a moment ago, most of the names you'd expect to be there are there, but will they still be there in 15 minutes' time? Who knows?
Well, the young Melanie Santos is still in there, still a very young athlete, and just raced in the under-23 in the World Championships just last weekend. And non-Stanford, it's good to see her, that she's still in the game after not feeling as crash hot as she did yesterday.
She had a really tough year, so I think she just wants to get out here, blow the cobwebs away, and have a bit of chance to get her head down for next year.
Yeah, it would be good to see non-Stanford perform well. Former world champion, of course.
The conditions have actually just got even more interesting now because it's starting to dry off. We saw on some of the earlier shots that some of the corners were half dry and half wet, and it's actually my favourite conditions to race in because it just makes it that little bit more technical. Do you take that corner fast or not? And you've really got to learn how much each corner can take, and so people be able to take risks and corners if it's dry, and then the next corner is going to be wet.
Start positions rather are interesting. Let's get down to Vicky. She's got some more info on that.
Yeah, so we weren't sure really what the benefit was to finishing in the top 2 in that race. But what it has done is the first finishers have been able to choose their start positions first for this race. So we have Jodie Stimpson, who's chosen the inside line at point 1, and that's given her an advantage.
Thanks very much indeed, Vicky. We're just a few seconds away now from these women diving back into the water for stage 2. 15 of them. And only the first 10 over the line will qualify for the final stage. And interesting to hear what Vicky was saying, pretty much what Alistair mentioned, Emma, about the advantage of getting that inside position.
Well, we saw Sophie in that first race really take the swim out hard, lead, and Jodie would know that, she needs to stick with her and choosing that inside position. I mean, it could be a matter of does she just breathe on one side, but the fact is she's got Sophie there to try and, tack onto the back of her feet, hopefully stay on her hip, and really try and take the race like they just did in the previous one.
Yeah, Sophie's gone hard out on the left-hand side there, and you can see Jodie straight on her feet trying to hold on there. You also saw Caroline Routier on the right-hand side go out hard as well, and that's her only way of doing it. You can just see there mostly on the right now with a couple of people back and on her right. She has to swim round the people in front of her now. If I was her, I'd be heading left because she's got clear water to her left, and she needs to get in left to get around that boy. But Sophie and Jodie swimming well there on the left-hand side.
So used to seeing Routier's brilliant swimming. However, she's not used to doing it after all these previous endeavours, not just the first stage here, but yesterday, crucially. But she's going pretty well, but as Alistair says, she's pretty wide on the right-hand side as you look at it.
Yeah, Spirig is right there on the left-hand side. She's going to get pinned in around that boy. You can see her straight arms close to the boat. Maybe she's checking them out, I don't know. But yeah, she's going to struggle to where she is. She's quite a long way back as well. We've just seen Routier. I know she's come across now, but she's having to fight there with, I think that's Casper there. Or possibly Zafira. It's really difficult to tell in third place, Routier in fourth. Oh no, there's Zafira's happily starting fifth place.
Well, you see one woman got stood up there. That might have been Rachel Palmer. And now they cut across.
Yeah, really, that's it. You know, these sharp turns, this is when it gets nasty, like we were talking about yesterday. We think the women's is maybe even nastier than the men.
The shortest distance between two lines is always that straight line, and unfortunately if there's a body in front of you, you tend to get in the way. And
normally over someone else.
Yeah, let's just have another look at this. It's right in the centre of your screen in just a moment.
I
You
don't
see
know
it there.
Yeah, who that is. A few people stopped there. This is Non-Stanford here on the outside, who gets absolutely nailed by Michelle there.
Yes.
And so, so Non is effectively in last place.
I think it might well have been Rachel Klammer, but I could be wrong. We'll see when they come out how far back the Dutch woman is.
Yeah.
Whether they discuss it on land.
So the order at the moment, that's Caldwell first, Simpson second, and I think Zafira's in third. So like we expected, and I think Sophie Caldwell is going to try and do exactly the same thing again. She's going to get out of the water, go as hard as she can up that ramp and just take it out on the bike.
Well, if Caldwell continues this kind of performance, not just in this stage, but in the second one, the third one as well, which is the final stage, of course, she could potentially end up with a top 5. I mean, she's coming in 6th place with 12 points. And for someone of her relative lack of experience, that would be a great effort.
I think this is just what it goes to show for these athletes. I mean, they really can show their strength. They can show, you know, that they can ride a bike in all sorts of conditions, and it really does provide them with a perfect breeding ground to become such an all-round triathlete. I mean, it's experience that you really want to be able to get, and you just can't always get it in training.
There's a big factor coming into play here as well. As the field gets smaller, it definitely benefits the stronger swimmers. So Sophie, for example, is going to be more of an advantage on this leg and then the final race than she was on the first, because like we're seeing now, that's the most spread out swim we've seen so far, and that's because if you're a weaker swimmer, you've just got less fast water to swim in, you've got less feet to swim on, and it's more spread out.
Well, we haven't even got onto the bikes yet, and you can see those 4 or 5 at the back there are potentially in trouble.
Yeah, I think, so that's Michelle, Non-Stanford, and I think McShane from Australia. So, yeah, those 3 are obviously at a starting disadvantage.
That was Claire Michel, by the way, took a tumble getting out the water. We've seen that happen on more than one occasion.
Zafiras and Summer Cook just followed by Spirig and Spivey there. I think, you know, they just want to go and have a good, safe bike there, keep up, and, you know, try not get caught by these girls behind them, because they've got a decent advantage.
Well, let's just have a look and see if we can find Rachel Klammer. There she is. Well, that's not too bad for Rachel. Even though she's in 10th place, she's only 11 seconds down. And those are the ones in trouble. Santos, McShane, Charion, Stanford and Claire Michel, who we saw have that trip.
Yeah, poor Claire Michel spent most of the last race towards the back as well, and had to come through last minute to make sure clinch qualification. So she's back in the same place again.
Let's get back down to transition and join Vicky again.
Yeah, so we talked about that real importance of having a good start position, and it just showed again there. Sophie at position 2, Jodie dove in straight onto her hip. They didn't get touched, and we saw the absolute carnage that happened around that first turn, boy. Those 2 sailed clear, and they're already driving on the pace of that pack.
Thanks very much indeed, Vicky.
Yeah, so I think at the moment, obviously they're the last 5 with Santos at the back of the field, and yeah, I think Non-Stanford is 5th from last, so 10th place. So she's the red line, as it were, at the moment, with Emi Charion there as well, Santos from Portugal. So yeah, they've got no option but to chase on as hard as they can. Sophie Caldwell done exactly the same again. This time Jodie Stimson is straight on the wheel though, so she's not going to have to chase for the next 5k to eventually get there. They might even be able to work together and make this race faster. Yeah,
it'd be fascinating to see if they do that and how much heat they can put on those behind, as if those back 5 that we saw being a bit sluggish out the water, if they can get anywhere close to the bikers in front of them, then the pressure will really be on.
Yeah, so Linderman 8th, I think Klammer 9th, and Stanford in 10th. So that's where the battle looks like it is at the moment. And you can see those tiles are dry, or mostly dry now, which makes for much faster conditions. And yeah, I think all afternoon we're going to see them get wet and dry kind of as the rain showers come in. But it dries quickly, which is interesting.
Yeah, last we saw, Zafiras was very handily tucked in around about 5th or 6th.
She's there in 4th. That's Casper 3rd, Zafiras 4th. Just buying her time. That's Spirig in 5th. She knows what she's doing. Routier's just slipping back down the path, and Summer Cook there. I think, you know, these girls are all probably pretty safe. They all run well, and their motives is just about going to be keeping safe and stopping themselves from crashing.
Well, Mon's done well. She's inside the top 10 now, and now it's the likes of Charion and Melanie Santos, who was in trouble previously. They're still in that back 5 along with Linderman, and they're in danger of elimination.
Yeah, this is where that elimination battle is happening at the moment. You can see Non knows it, and she's working as hard as she can with the other girls around her to drive that pack as quick as it can go. They also know they don't want those girls behind them to catch them up, you know, because that means they're definitely eliminated. And we'll just have to see. I think this is where this race is about now. These 5 girls in this pack, out of those, I think 9, so there's only 2 of them are going to make it through. Oh.
We just heard that Linderman has crashed again. We saw it yesterday.
It appears even on the same corner.
Yeah, so that's how Non went from 10th to 9th place, because Linderman was in front of her and then crashed.
It was literally exactly the same place she crashed yesterday.
She must be having nightmares about that corner at the moment. Yeah, Sophie again now. Sophie Caldwell spent the entire race before on the front and driving it, and now... No, sorry, that's Jodie on the front. So Jodie, and we've got the 2 Americans and Spierig at the back of that group. Spierig in the perfect place there. All she has to do is sit there.
Well, you'd have to think any chance that Linderman had clearly is now gone of qualifying, which means that there are only 4 others that need to be concerned. The likes of Claire Michelle, Santos, Charion and McShane.
Yeah, so you see on the tarmac, the core is still wet, so they're having to corner differently on the wet parts than they are on the dry. I think there's a few people in the middle, some people we're not seeing, whoever that is behind Spierig, that's Spivey and Routier. So, you know, they are... Oh, no, it's not Summer Cook and Routier. So they're in a difficult position because they don't want to get caught up by this elimination pack behind them.
Yeah, they've got a handy little gap at the moment, just completing the 2nd lap of 5. So it's 5 kilometres total.
A little bit in no man's land, aren't they? These 2. I think they're working hard, but definitely not as consistently as the group in front of them and the group behind them. And I certainly don't see them catching the group in front. And it's a matter of whether they have their wits about them, whether that group catches them from behind. And they'd be well aware that they're in even though they're somewhat in the safe zone in the top 10 now. But if those girls eat them up on the bike, well then they really are in a very dangerous position.
Just hearing Taylor Spivey might have had a problem. We think she's come off the bike as well. So these conditions finding so many of these women out, and here is the evidence of it. Well, let's hope she's okay. She just looks a bit shocked, to be honest.
Well, she
moving
did
very gingerly.
We already did see that she had quite a bit of skin on her right-hand hip before this race started. So, like you said, Alistair, I think a few girls are probably having some nightmares of places they've crashed already on this course.
Yeah, these 5 are a perfect position now, moving nicely, and I'm pretty sure that Summer Cook, who's been about 5 seconds off the back of them for most of this race. So I think she doesn't need to push. There's no point pushing around corners and risking anything too much. She knows she's safe, which is there's got to be 4 people behind her catch her for her not to be safe. And I think she's in a pretty good position as well.
Yeah, this is perfect for Cook, and we've seen her in some races this season struggle to stay with her lead pack on the bike, but in this instance, with just a couple of kilometres to go now, it really doesn't matter. She's got a sufficient gap between her and those behind, so she's not in danger of being eliminated.
No, it'd be silly of her, to be honest, to take the risk and really try and get up to that group in front. If it's the next race, absolutely, she should risk a few corners. She could make up a second or 2 on those corners and be on the back, and then she could be in the perfect place to win. But in this race, absolutely no point trying to make up that gap.
Yeah, all bets are off in the next stage, obviously, because that's where the title and the money's going to be decided. But it's the likes of Charion and Santos that remain in trouble, and Klammer is with them as well, along with Charlotte McShane.
Yeah, so still, there's going to be two people from that pack of 5 girls who aren't going to make it effectively. So actually, in this point, there's very little point in Non-Stanford pushing this on, because there's a fairly decent gap behind them to the next one. And she's literally only racing those 5 girls she's racing with. She's got to make sure that she's not in the last 2 out of this pack of 5.
Yeah, and with her run, you'd like to think, from her point of view at least, that she would be able to qualify inside the top 10 if she comes off the bike along with these other women.
Yeah, you'd hope so, definitely. But it's interesting that the tactics are so different. You're thinking, how can you make sure you're not in the last 2 here? And who am I actually racing? I'm not racing the people in front. I think Jodie's still really smooth around the corners, and she'll be playing it pretty safe now. They know that they've got a lot to lose and not a lot to gain by hammering this bike course.
They just take so much confidence, don't they? The two of them up the front together, know how each other ride, know and trust in each other's ability in this sort of circumstance. And that really, we haven't seen anyone else come to the front. They're probably not letting them, and rightly so.
Interesting, Zafira's looks under a bit of pressure there. She's been 5 metres off the back for most of those last 2 laps, and now that's opened up to 10 metres. Not a lot and nothing significant in this one. Maybe she's just playing safe and not taking any risks, but maybe she doesn't like cornering this wet, and maybe that's going to come into account in the next race.
Spirig's always been right up there. I think she was third, wasn't she, in the first stage, and she's right up there again.
Yeah, Zafira isn't confident around those corners. She took that really gingerly, and was just keeping her bike upright going around it and not enjoying it at all.
I'm just wondering on the next stage when it really matters, whether Spirig might try and lay it down to Zafira's on the bike, assuming she's not too far behind out the water, because you'd imagine Katie will come out in front.
She should definitely try. The other person we haven't mentioned in this actually is Routier, I think, sitting in the middle of all this in 7th or 8th. And, Routier's running isn't a strong point, even though we were impressed by how well she ran yesterday. So I think, some of these girls who are probably the better runners, maybe like Non, maybe like Charlotte McShane, could catch Routier as well. So actually, maybe it isn't just between these 5. Yeah, look, they're going to catch her. So by bringing her back, and they all know she's not the strongest runner, they've made it easier for them to qualify.
They really mix it up even more, and like you said, almost add a number to the fact that they can potentially, obviously outrun more girls, but it really gives them one more for them to be safe. So
all odds, isn't it? Before It was 2 and 5, and now it's 2 and 6.
Yeah, and so that means 4 of them are going to have an early end to their afternoon, and it's all going to be decided on the run, you would imagine, because we've only got about 500 metres or so before they'll be off the bikes and onto the 2K run.
Yeah, we're on to this slight part of the course that I think, especially in the men's race, had a massive effect yesterday. Slightly uphill out of that really dodgy roundabout at the bottom, and we saw pretty much every time people really pushing on up there, making it hard for the people behind them. And yeah, these girls are all in transition now. Again, Zafira's the best 10 metres off the back. Yeah, I just don't think, unless she's playing this very safe, I just don't think she's been confident. I mean, she's in the perfect position. She's going to qualify easy. She hasn't had to. Someone's just fallen over. Not sure who it was, but coming to transition, I think this carpet in bare feet, as you're basically trying to brake and slow down, becomes quite slippy. But they're all out safe now, so they're running, and again, they've just got a steady, really steady 2K to do.
Yeah, no problems for Zafira's or Spirig. Someone did go down, but didn't appear to be an issue. Now, here's going to be the fascinating element of this stage, because only 2 of these women can get through. Remember, only the top 10.
4 get through.
Yeah.
2 get eliminated. So
there's Summer Cook. No problems for her on the run, you wouldn't imagine.
Yeah, she wasn't in the group. She's about 5-10 seconds in front of them. She's safe anyway. She is not going to get caught unless she wants to. It's out of these. We can see him now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back to Routier, who's in 6th place, which is unfortunate because we know a run isn't a strong point. So she could really have done without being, out of transition first. Santos looks like a great runner. I think she is. We've talked about it a bit, but she's probably one to watch in the future.
Mentioned someone slipped. It was actually Kirsten Casper. There you go. Well, that's not too much of a problem, fortunately. She's lucky. I mean, so often we've seen women whose feet can get involved in the spokes. We saw that with Jodie Stimson a few years back in Yokohama in transition, but no issues for Casper.
Yeah, so at the moment, with Santos moving through and Non-Stanford not made the best start to run, it's Stanford and Routier that are going to get eliminated. I think Summer Cook's taking it easy there. She knows she can afford to get caught, and even if she does, she can kick herself in to make sure she's not in those last 2.
Well, Rachel Clemmer certainly is doing the numbers, isn't she? She certainly is looking very determined and knows that, maybe that even some of these girls have a little bit more of a sprint on her than what she might leading into the last kilometre of the run and even down the finish chute. I mean, they can all stay nicely tight and close together, but we've seen time and time again that, some athletes do have some amazing sprints on them.
Yeah, I think these 5 girls at the front are out for a Sunday morning jog now.
It looks
really close. They went round the roundabout in almost perfect tandem. I think they're just enjoying it. Yes, Non-Stanford struggling there. She's off the back. Those 4 in front of her are the 4 that are going to go through. She is in 11th place, we believe, and so if it stays like this, she will get eliminated.
Yeah, well, she said yesterday she wasn't feeling too well. We know she's had an injury-ravaged season as well, but at least she came out today. She won't give up catching. She only needs to catch one, we reckon, in that group of 4 ahead of her, and she will get through. Summer Cook just looks so relaxed. We know what a good runner she is. No problem for her in qualifying. She came in 3rd overall, remember, so she's a genuine contender, along with Zafirez and Spirik, to take out this inaugural Women's Super League triathlon title.
Yeah, Non-Stanford will not give up in that 11th position. She's a fearsome competitor, and she'll be trying all she can to get back on terms with this group, but I don't think those girls are running as hard as they can. I think most of them have got a bit more in them, and we'll see. I think Non's trying all she can to get back on terms, so I think she might struggle here. Again, these 5 at the front, yeah, I think they're enjoying it. It is a Sunday morning and they're out for a run.
They look like they're out warming up for the race, don't they? They look extremely comfortable. I think the same as Summer. I mean, we've talked about her already yesterday, and the fact today she just has to, to play it safe, energy conserve, and she certainly looks like she's doing a good job at that.
That was interesting, because you saw Klarma have a look back. She knows there are 5 in front. And she just wanted to find out exactly where Non-Stanford was, because at the moment Stanford is 11th, and that means she won't get into the final stage.
Yeah, I think we saw Klammer there look behind and go, this gap's still a bit small, I don't feel quite comfortable with it, run straight to the front of the group and push it on. We'll see now how much she pushes it on, how much those other girls in that group are hurting, but if they stay with her as she speeds it up a little bit.
So we've got the leading group of 5 as they come round to hear the bell. They're pursued by Summer Cook running on her own, and then the other 4 that at the moment, the likes of Klarmer and McShane, that are going to qualify unless Non-Stanford can find something on the last 1,000 metres.
We really have a race going on within the race here, don't we? I mean, these girls are probably, thinking more about racing than the front 5 are at this point in time. I mean, they're the ones that have got all the pressure on them. The front 5 all look extremely relaxed, and I hope for Non's sake that she keeps clawing back, because she's a fantastic competitor. But these 4 out the front really do look a little bit more comfortable than she is.
Definitely. There's only 2 seconds in it as well. 21 to 23 seconds. 2 seconds to staying in the competition or not. And we've seen Routier, though, who's lost 20 seconds on that first lap. So her runs really let her down. Charion just getting distanced a bit there. Maybe if one gets attacked from the group, it makes it a bit easier for Non to catch.
Yeah, and it's a fair way back behind Non-Stanford. You can't see any way back in truth for the likes of Carolina Routier or the others behind her. Non-Stanford distance is still about the same, isn't it? A couple of seconds, maybe 10, 15 metres.
Well, Rachel was certainly looking at the big screen as she was coming past and just trying to gauge exactly what that distance was. And like you said, Emmy is, seems to be the weaker now of those 4. Still in a safe spot, but Rachel was just trying to keep turning up the pressure.
It's almost like when you watch a lion and they're trying to get a deer and they go for the smallest, the weakest one. Charion is the one under pressure. I think Nonna spotted that and she's after her. The question is, can she close that gap?
I mean, yeah, it's only 2 seconds. You could close that in a lot less than 200 metres. So at the moment, literally going to the sprint from that bottom corner, that gap could be closed. Non's an ex-track runner, so should have that sprint finish in her if she needs to use it. And she hasn't gone absolutely max to catch them in the first place. But yeah, Charion definitely detached there from the group, and that should give Non a bit of hope, because it's far easier, like you said, much easier catching one person on her own. She's not getting that effect of the drag, and yeah, it gives her a bit more chance. Summer Cook to run straight up to that lead group. I think that shows how slow they're going compared to how fast Summer Cook's going, to be honest. So yeah, even more. Six to go out for the run together now.
Well, we know those 6 are going to be through. Those 3
Looks
also.
like our top 9.
But the question is Charion able to hold off Non-Stanford? At the moment, you'd say she is.
Yeah, that gap's got just a little bit bigger, maybe. But still, 2-3 seconds max. That's easily closed in less than 200 metres.
Just wonder if Stanford's got a sprint in her, Ali, after the season that she's had. If she was at full fitness, you'd probably say yes, but now I'm not so sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think if she was at full fitness, she probably wouldn't be in this situation to start with. She will be a bit further up the field and definitely run better to start with. But yeah, I think, really, really tough conditions. You can see Charion's giving everything she's got there. and Non closing in on her fast, or not in on her fast. It's staying at the same distance. And yeah, we'll see. I think you're right. Non is a class runner, but has had a really tough year. And well, we can see she's tried as hard as she can for the best part of a mile now to close that gap, and it hasn't been closed.
Still a very decent turnout of spectators on a wet and windy day, and they're watching some of the top women in the world battling to try and stay in this inaugural Women's Super League triathlon. And at the moment, Non Stanford is going to be the casualty, because Charion is holding firm in 10th place. There you can see it. Non is giving absolutely everything, but Charion still has a gap.
Yeah, I think Non has got to give all she's got, and she is. I don't know, interesting tactic. Does she try and, out of this corner, maybe sneak up on them and unleash everything she's got in a sprint rather than catch them before? I don't know. I think she's just going as hard as she can, and I think that's it. It's probably over for her there, you know. Yeah. That's 10 metres, and they've got 100 metres to go, and I think she's going to struggle to close anything in that.
So Stimpson first across the line. Spirig is safely through. Zafires to Casper and Summer Cook, and the four behind them are all going to qualify, and there is the casualty. Non Stanford, despite maximum effort, is eliminated in this second stage, and now we know the final 10 that are going to battle it out for the title. Rachel Klammer will be in that 10, Non Stanford will not.
Interesting that Jodie Stimpson felt the need to push to the front and win that race. You know, winning this race has no consequences in terms of the overall competition at all, but maybe a bit of a psychological battle going on there, I don't know.
Well, let's go down and hear we'll very shortly hear from Amy Sharon. We'll just watch a few of the other women come through. These also, of course, have been eliminated, so their race is literally run for the afternoon. We can go and join Amy Sharon. She's down with Emma.
Emmy, just scraped in 10. You're in the third race for the day. Tell me, was that a nail biter or what?
I'm really, really tired, but I'm so pleased to be the last one to be qualified for the last stage. So yeah, now I will enjoy, I think, the last one.
It must have been tough having a whole British crowd getting behind Non. You know she's an amazing competitor. What was going through your mind?
Yeah. I didn't return my head because I knew that Non was just behind me. So yeah, it pushed me all to the end of the race.
Well, it's fantastic to see you out racing. Go and rest up and enjoy this final race.
Thank you very much.
Well, the countdown is on as far as the rest concerned. It's 10 minutes. That's 10 minutes from the time that Jodie Stimpson crossed the line. So probably down to 7 or 8 by now. She's actually a 10-time French national champion at various triathlon distances, Emy Charion, and she's got herself into the last 10 here. Well, let's hear from, no doubt, a very disappointed Non Stanford. She's down with Vicky.
Non 11th place, the first one to not make it. Disappointed, but a better day than yesterday.
Yeah, really disappointed because it's so close, but I think Emmy sensed that I was coming and picked the pace back up again. But yeah, so much better than yesterday. Actually felt like I was racing today rather than just walking around. So definitely happier because I thought I'd be out in the first round.
Tell us what happened on the swim, because we saw it replayed on the big screen. You seem to be one of the big casualties of a mass pile-up at the first turn.
Yeah, I was really confident at the start. I was a bit behind, but I got straight on feet and I thought I'm in a safe place here, I'm not getting knocked. We went round that first buoy and not to name names, but I think Claire Michelle absolutely nailed me coming around that buoy and sort of swam over me. And you know, that's what it's like in there. You know, I'm sure it's not intentional and it happens, but that really cost me that race because I think I'd have been a bit further up getting on the bike.
Yeah, I think that definitely made your day a bit harder, but hey, a better day than yesterday. Non will live to fight another day.
I will, thanks.
Yeah, I reckon Claire Michelle owes her a drink later because, as she says, it wasn't intentional, but it certainly had a big impact.
I think that was our exact words, wasn't it? Claire Michelle just nailed Non Stanford around that buoy in the slow-mo as we saw it happen.
Let's just double-check then the results from that second stage of the Eliminator. Stimpson safely through along with Spirig and Zafires. Remember, Zafires, the winner from yesterday. Kirsten Casper, we've hardly mentioned her. She just keeps hanging around. She was fourth from Saturday's action. Sophie Caldwell's done so well this morning. Summer Cook, a massive threat on the run. Rachel Klammer recovered from problems she had in the water. McShane, Santos and Emy Charion, and that is your final 10 for the Eliminator. Those sadly are out, none we've just heard from. Carolina Routier, Claire Michelle and Laura Linderman, who's had something of a painful weekend with those various bike crashes. Well, Katie Zafiris, Emma, has done exactly what she's had to do so far. So too is Nicola Spirig, I guess, but she'll be delighted with the way things have gone.
She just seems to get better and better as the races go on, and maybe a little bit of confidence as well. But she has said herself that, you know, as things get tougher, she keeps getting going and going better. All right, well, let's go down and hear from a very unfortunate Laura Linderman, who looks like she's been a few rounds with Mike Tyson.
Laura, a crash yesterday, we see the war wounds all over you, and you had another crash today, same corner. Yeah. You must be having nightmares about that corner.
Yeah, it was I was very scared about the corners, and even when it's wet, it's so much harder, so I was just scared and tried to do my best, but yeah, that was all.
We were really pleased to see you back racing today, though. You did look strong before the point of the crash. Really pleased to see you back racing. You must be pleased to be up and be back out there.
Yeah, I'm very happy that I'm feeling fine, just the skin is off, but I'm feeling okay, so yeah.
Wish you a speedy recovery.
Thank you.
See, they breed them tough in Germany. Good to hear that Laura Linderman's okay, and she's one of the real up-and-coming young triathletes. We'll be hearing a lot more of her, I have absolutely no doubt, in the years to come. But the Eliminator, we now know the final 10. And just worth mentioning at this point, Katie Zafiris, who won the event yesterday, 25 points, Nicola Spirig, 21 points. If Spirig were to beat Zafiris, if they finished first and second, Spirig would be crowned the champion, because it would go, if the points are level, it goes on the highest position in this final Eliminator race. So just so everyone's clear at home on that. So from Spirig's point of view, she wins the race, she wins the title, which begs the question, as we mentioned earlier, does she really try and put it down to Zafiris on the bike?
I think obviously it's all to play for here. I think the swim is going to be absolutely crucial for Nicola Spirig. She isn't the strongest swimmer. Actually, out of those 10 girls, she's probably one of the weakest. And with only 10 in the field, there's not many feet, there's not many hips to get onto, there's not much fast water. So I think the girls who are Zafiris and Caldwell, you know, the swimmers, have really got to push this on to put Spirig under pressure. Whether Spirig's going to be catching on the early part of the bike or being able to push and get other people, you know, put them under pressure is going to be crucial. So when they get out of the water, that's going to be an interesting thing. I think Spirig, if she is up there on the bike, I think she has to push. You know, even 5 seconds, 5 little seconds going into that run could make it easy for her to win this race or not.
And the other element, Emma, we should mention is if Summer Cook can stay competitive on the bike, because I'm sure she will be in the water, but if she does it on the bike, she's got a chance as well on that run.
This is what we love about it. I mean, there's just so much that can go on, and we've seen the girls race, but again, we've got this one, the last one to go. This one dictates the day, but it also dictates the whole weekend.
I think we're going to see, though, you know, these girls haven't taken any risks yet. Whether the cyclists Caldwell and Simpson push it on, we'll see.
Well, we're all going to know very, very shortly, because we're just seconds away now. The weather has definitely improved, and the racing has been magnificent so far, and the best is yet to come. These are the final 10. Stimson, Spirig, Zafiris, Casper, Caldwell, Cook, Klarma, McShane, Santos and Emmy Charion. And remember, Zafiris coming in pole position with 25 points from yesterday, Spirig 21, Cook 18 and Casper 16. And I was saying, Ali, we hadn't spoken much about Kirsten Casper. She's had a crash on the bike. She slipped over in transition. She was 4th from yesterday. Still got half a chance. She's so consistent.
Yeah, she has. I think it's wide open today. You know, if she wins this and Zafiris maybe crashes, Spirig is a bit further down, it is absolutely wide open, either to win it or to get obviously a really good podium position. And it's interesting. It's interesting just to see the positions that they're starting in there. Spirig 2 in, Simpson on the left. That's because they've finished 1st and 2nd in the round before, and so they're going to have the shortest swim line up the inside.
Well, the swim's going to be absolutely key. Let's get on to Vicky, who's by the marina.
Yeah, so we're just seeing them line up for the last round. I spoke to a couple of them as they were walking down here. I think they're all absolutely desperate to finish off the day. Some of them were talking about that really, really rough swim that we saw on that second leg, especially Rachel Klammer mentioned that around that first turn, boy. It was absolute carnage. Some of them have scrapes on their faces from it, so there is no holds being barred here. They're really going for it. They all want to win this.
Well, that is clear. I guess the only thing you could say Vicky, if you're still down there, is with fewer women in this, only 10, maybe there'll be less carnage around that point?
Yeah, I think you could be right. 10 now. They're not fighting for elimination. They're fighting for pure finish places. I still think these inside lines are the ones to have. Jodie's got that inside line again. That's exactly where she wants to be. But this time she doesn't have the speed of Sophie Caldwell next to her. She's got Nicola Spirig instead.
All right, thanks very much for the moment, Vicky, keeping us up to date with all these insights. And this literally is the calm before the storm. We've got less than a minute now until they'll be back in the water for the final time, and we're going to see who will be the Super League Triathlon champion for this round.
I think it's going to be tough there for Chamion, Santos and McShane, the three on the left. They are, not known for their swimming, and they've got the longest route there to get round. So unlike we saw Routier before, who could just nail it around the outside, I think they might struggle in this swim.
Well, let's see if Sophie Caldwell tries to take the initiative. As we've seen in the first two stages, we know Zefiras swims well, and this, of course, is when it matters. There's no more coasting for the likes of Zefiras or Spirig. It's all out to win. So away they go for this final stage. This is the race that's going to decide it.
And that's Sophie Caldwell, straight out, great start, straight off the block. She'll have done 5 or 6 strokes head down as she powered up just to get that gap, because as soon as she's in clear water now, she can swim how she wants to swim.
And she just cuts straight over, doesn't she? She just takes straight over to that short inside line, and I guess, looking at Jodie, they've worked together now, but I think it's every woman for themselves, isn't it? And I mean, we saw Nicola in that previous race really take it, like almost hitting the boats inside line. So whether or not she employs that tactic this time round, or whether or not she just tries to stick with these girls as closely as she can.
Do you think teamwork stops now for Caldwell and Stimpson, or could it still be to their mutual advantage?
It could definitely be to their advantage, but what we're seeing right now is, I think that's Spirig so Spirig's at the shot, in the middle of the shot, and she was sitting right on Jodie Stimpson's hips for the first 50 metres of that swim, slowing her down, and that's why Jodie's a bit further back than she has been in the other ones, where she's been able to dive straight in and get on Sophie's feet. So at the moment we're seeing 2 Americans. I think that is actually Summer Cook and Zefiras in second and third, although really difficult to tell. But yeah, Jodie's a bit further back than she would have liked in 5th place, I think, and that was because Nicola Spirig tactically did the right thing and jumped on her hips for her, but has slowed Jodie down.
Caldwell swimming this afternoon has been absolutely magnificent.
Yeah, she's great at this kind of event, this kind of distance. I think if any triathlon format was made for her, it would be this format. Maybe just one of them, but we'll see on this one. 3rd one she's done in a day, see what she's got left. And yeah, that is Summer Cook in 2nd. And both Americans actually are in 3rd and 4th there, so Zefiras, and it doesn't really matter which way around they are, and Casper. And behind them hasn't been quite as rough, but still we're seeing a bit of gap form there, and that could be crucial.
Yeah, it could be significant. Summer Cook, I think the key to her chances here is going to be on the bike. That's where she has shown a little fallibility in the past.
Yeah, Summer Cook really high turnover stroke there, but in 2nd place, straight on Jodie Stimpson's feet, absolutely. On Sophie Caldwell's feet, absolutely perfect place to be. Back there you can see Jodie Stimpson, who's technically kind of in 5th place, but sat in a really kind of comfortable swimming position on that 4th Americans, I think, which is Zefiras' hip. So she'll be saving a little bit of energy, although yeah, she's fighting her for the feet there. So in swimming terms, what you really want is one set of feet with no one around you, because that's the ultimate easy place to be. Spirig there. So Spirig's in 6th place, really great place. So she's not going to leave the swim far down.
And it's actually Kirsten Casper in 3rd there, not Katie. So it does seem like there has been a bit of a break, but Nicola's on the back of that break. It's just she continues to fight through, doesn't she? In every format, every way possible, and in the swim, where we always talk that there's particularly not her best leg.
She's just such a big racer, isn't she? We've seen it in the Olympics. She tends to produce these performances when it matters most, and that is a magnificent knack to have.
Yeah, we're seeing Summer Cook trying to move up here on Sophie Caldwell. She knows that if she can get out the water that little bit further up and up through transition and make the difference, get out on the bike early, that could really help her race on. And a bit of a split behind as well.
Well, she could get, but she's got a gap to Katie here, and that could potentially be really significant.
Yeah, so we're going to have 2 groups of 3 coming out the water here. Sophie Caldwell there in first place. That's Casper. And then here, yeah, where that gap went, that's the Fearers. So she's lost
Katie.
Yeah, and Spirig on the back there. So, yeah, I think Nicola's going to have a bit of work to do here, but not as much as some of her rivals would have liked.
Well, if anyone can do that work on the bike, it is Nicola Spirig. Sophia is maybe not as close as she wants to be. And is there an opportunity here for the likes of either Cook or Casper, because we shouldn't forget about her because she's right in the mix, to maybe get a march on Sophia and Spirig and get away and find a gap on the bike? We'll see.
Definitely. Sophie Caldwell is going to try and nail this transition, nail the first few laps of the bike. And to be honest with you, I think Summer Cook's going to struggle to stay with her. We've seen her cycling isn't as good. Sophie's looked so comfortable on this course, on the wet corners. And I think this race now is going to split open. And Nicola Spirig, who's kind of come out in 6th place, although got up to 5th through transition, is going to have to make her way up through transition. Look, Summer Cook's just cost herself 2 or 3 seconds there on a mount, not being having to do a static mount.
Yeah, Katie was miles better, and now Katie's right behind her again.
Yeah, and Sophie was really fast. That's where she's got the gap. And yeah, Nicola Spirig will have been quick, and I expect she's already making up places going through the field. But I think we could see this really split up now.
Rachel Kramer struggling at the back of the field of 10. But it's Caldwell who's taking him along. I would imagine it's Casper in second after Summer Cook's rather tardy. Yeah, it is, after Summer Cook's rather tardy mount of the bike.
It is, but she's managed actually to ride back up onto the wheel there in 3rd place. So at least she's managed to rescue it with a good, strong first 500 metres of the bike to get herself back into contention. But go around that first corner, a metre opens up back to Casper, a metre back to Cook again. So Sophie's just going to do that and try and apply the pressure onto them.
And that just plays into the hands of someone like Nicola, doesn't it? I mean, coming from, you know, only a few seconds back, but there is a distinct break between the girls, and utilising, you know, the back of the weakness on the back of Summer out the front, and her own ability. I mean, we saw her and Katie yesterday working extremely well together. You hope that Katie has, you know, gained a confidence now over these previous 2 races. And really tacks onto the back of Nicola and her skills too.
Well, at the moment, Katie Zafiris has a little bit of work to do. Would you agree, Vicky?
Yeah, I thought as she swam through there, she wasn't looking quite as good as we've seen her in the other rounds. And as she actually jogged past me into her transition point, I just thought they were the first signs of weakness. She looked a little bit laboured. She didn't look quite as fresh as she has done. I mean, they're not going to look as fresh, but she did look to be struggling a little bit. It's not all over yet. There's plenty of time to go, but you can't afford to let the gaps go in this final round. It's winner takes all.
Interesting that Sophie Caldwell actually let Casper have a bit of time on the front there. She hasn't done that in any other races. She's just decided to take it on herself and commit. So maybe Casper wants to push it on as well. We can see Spirig chasing harder. I think she's going to make contact with that group, but like we're talking about when she was swimming, that's going to cost her the chance to make a difference on the bike, because she's had to use up that energy and this time to catch up the girls in front of her rather than potentially get a bit of a winning gap.
Yeah, Spirig, Stimpson and Zafiris, isn't it? That little trio.
Yeah, I think Sophie, she's not committed quite as much to this one. She's been a bit more tactical.
I was going to say the same. She just doesn't look like she has the same force behind. You know, when she gets out of the saddle, she's not really accelerating hard. She sees that there's a group behind her, and I think, yeah, knowing that it's Nicola also chasing, you know, how do those two maybe even best both get up the front, and do they even potentially, you know, look at working together and even breaking away?
And this is where you need to be able to do a little bit of mathematics as well, because from Katie's point of view, it's not quite as simple as saying I've just got to finish in front of Nicola Spirig, because it depends where, because Casper started in 4th, Cook started in 3rd, and if Zafiris goes down to 4th in this particular race, then she's not necessarily going to win it. We'll keep you in touch with the various mathematical calculations. It might be worth waiting until they get out on the run to see. But Caldwell trying to take him along, but Katie's right back in the mix again now.
Yeah, all 6 of them here. You know, this is one pack. Be interesting to see if it splits up any more. Sophie's on this is the technical section with a couple of really sharp corners, and whether she starts to put the gauntlet down, she has to. She's not going to, or unlikely that she's going to run to be competitive with these girls. Her chance from doing well in this, or at least the opportunity, is going to come by just taking a little bit more risk around a couple of corners and then working really hard out of them. Get some aerial shots now. It must mean the weather's got a bit better.
Yeah, we even got some blue sky peeking through, but We're coming to the denouement of this inaugural Women's Super League triathlon event here in Jersey. And at the moment, it's between Zafiris and Spirig, you would think, unless Cook or Casper can do something on the next 3 laps of the bike.
Yeah, Summer Cook, you can see she just loses that gap around the corners, and that it makes it harder for her. But that group behind isn't that far off, so I think if it doesn't speed up, they're going to come back into it. And there's only a couple of chances on this course to overtake, so I can see Nicola using one now. This is the straight bit on that, and the straight bit on the back straight of it where it widens out. They're probably the only 2 places on the course you can really overtake. So Nicola's used that opportunity to get to the front, and I imagine she's going to push it around this next lap, take a few risks around the corners, and see if she can start creating gaps.
Yeah, and the 4 bikers that are trailing, there are a couple of decent runners in there. Charlotte McShane and Rachel Klarman would probably be the 2 notable ones.
Yeah, absolutely wide open. I mean, Nicola she's got a chance now to make a difference around these corners. Still cornering on a tops, which is slower. Your higher centre of gravity is higher. You need to be on your drops and low centre of gravity. That's how you get around corners, especially wet corners, fast in an aerodynamic way.
What are you thinking here, Emma? If you're Katie Zafiris, so you're in pole position, having won the race yesterday. Have you got one eye on Spirig, one eye on everybody else? What's going through your head?
It's staying safe, I think, first and foremost, and choosing, who you're going to sit on, because Katie clearly doesn't need to be out the front expending herself. She can back, I guess, herself in terms of when it comes down to the run. I guess Nicola as well, but Nicola knows she needs to ride hard and is not going to take into chance anyone sitting in front. It almost appeared like Sophie let the group or sort of move further back in the group. Tactical move by her maybe as well to conserve how high up can I finish. But I think from Katie's point of view, I think she just knows she's got to stay safe. She knows Summer's a fantastic runner. I don't think we've really seen Summer under that much pressure to run though. So, she probably knows a little bit more about her running capability next to her.
Spirig, I think, is trying to make some kind of a move. We thought she might do this. It's got to be her best chance.
Yeah, she just cornered that better. She's put the pressure on the last few corners, made it hard for them. And you've got 2 very different tactics when you do a dead turn like that. You go wide and hold your speed, or you try and go narrow, lose your speed, but you go a much shorter route. She went wide and held her speed really well, and that created some gaps. But because she's riding on a hoods like that and in an unaerodynamic way, every time she hits a straight bit of road, it's so much easier for the girls behind her to get straight back on her. She's putting the effort in, she's doing the right things around the corners, but when it comes to actually backing it up on the winning move, that's for me where she's going wrong. I think had she been working that little bit harder, getting on the drops, thinking about position, I think these gaps could have happened for her. And again, she's doing the same thing again, working hard, going hard around the corner, hard out the corner, creating gaps, seeing if she can put them under pressure, seeing if she can just get a bit of a gap and a breakaway on the go. But yeah, on a wheel. The casualty here is Summer Cook. Casper is riding brilliantly. She's been stuck to the wheel in front of the entire thing. No, actually it's Zafiris in second. So she's riding. She seems to be back, her head back in the game again, exactly in the right place. It's Summer Cook who's the casualty. It's becoming hard for her on the back.
Yeah, she's right at the back. We see her in that position quite often in a variety of different events, but the consistency of the top 4 showing again. Zafiris, Spirig, Cook and Casper, 1st to 4th in that order yesterday, and they are all in the mix here, more than halfway through this bike stage. See Kirsten Casper's scars of battle there on her upper leg after that crash that she had earlier. 1 lap to go, 1,000 metres, and then the run will decide it.
Yeah, so this is going to be a run between 6 of them. I don't know, it's very, very hard to call. Spirig's expending a lot of energy here, but she's also making it harder for the people behind her. Betting against Spirig on a 2K run, I don't know, you'd be brave to do that, wouldn't you?
I think you'd have to be very brave, and I think she takes so much confidence from what she's achieved and what she's done in her career, and I think she doesn't really take anything into account thinking she can't not do it, as she clearly proves that time and time again in every direction.
Very brave or very stupid. We've got Zafiris, who's so ultra consistent, we've seen it all season. Spirig, an Olympic gold, an Olympic silver, and she's 5 years older than anyone else in the field, but no one seems to have told her. And we've got Summer Cook, who we know is a stellar runner, and we throw Casper in the mix as well, as Zafiris goes to the front.
Yeah, I think Summer Cook is probably the dark horse here, although we're seeing her getting gaps again out of that corner, and that gap's 10 metres. She's having to work so much harder. Every time she comes out of a corner, she's having to put considerably more effort, actually, and that could be a 5 seconds gap now. So if she was with them coming into this, you know, she could be in with a really good shout. But not only has she had to work harder than all these girls because they're just basically cornering better, she's actually going to be left with possibly a slight deficit. Can't see her come around that corner yet. That is 5 seconds at least. I don't know. Yeah, 5 seconds. She chose to take her shoes out early there. When you take your shoes out on the back of a group, you get pulled along, and you don't lose that much. She took them out on her own on an incline, and that's why she's lost so much time.
And there are actually 2 titles they're fighting for here. There's the Eliminator title, which is just who wins today, and then the overall round here in Jersey, which is the cumulative total of the points from yesterday and today. So 5 of them off the bike together, and this might well be Zafiris versus Spirig. Let's see who's the champion. We'll see how it pans out. Casper in the mix as well, but she's going to need some help from the other athletes, because she's starting 4th.
Right, she's got 2 seconds on Zafiris already, so and crucially over 2K, that's pretty tough. It'll be interesting to see what. I mean, we all know that she tends to back a finish, or whether she's just going to go straight out here for it and take it on. I think we're seeing Summer Cook lose a bit of time there, and I think that's going to be that's a real shame, because if she was up there coming off the bike, I think she could have been in danger to win this race.
Yeah, that was Emmy Sharian. Just to reiterate for you, with Spirig out the front and Zafiris in just behind Jodie Stimpson there. Yesterday, Zafiris was first, Spirig was second. If Spirig wins and Zafiris is second, Spirig will be the overall champion. So Spirig knows a victory will get it done, but as we watch Summer Cook, but Zafiris looking strong, has gone to the front.
Yeah, Zafiris ran straight to the front on that straight bit, going up the hill, and went straight past Spirig fairly comfortably, to be honest.
I think she was just fooling Vicky.
Yeah, and there's a gap already. There's a gap there already, and Spirig looks like she's running hard. I mean, over a 2K race in these circumstances, you would not let a gap go if you could possibly avoid it. So there's nothing tactical going on there. You know, if you could go with that, you would have gone with it, no doubt about it.
This is brilliant, though, from Zafiris, Emma, isn't it? I mean, she's run the perfect race tactically. First and second stages today, just hung in the middle of the field, no danger, never in trouble, and now she's making a real statement on the first leg of the run in the stage that really matters.
Look, she's really approached it, and I think she's really gone through it and tried to approach it in the best way possible, hoping, you know, that Plan A continually pans out for her, and it is. I mean, she has such a poker face. It's so hard to determine if she's struggling or not, if she's feeling good or not. I mean, just then as she gapped Nicola, who seemed to be putting so much pressure on this run, she looked as calm and as content as anyone, you know, going out just for a training session.
Yeah, we just saw Jodie move past Nicola Spirig, knowing that the danger's there, that gap's going. She's moved past her in the attempt to try and close that gap. So although this race isn't over, there's the 3 of them there running together. There's not a lot left, you know, a mile left, and that gap's come out over the first 400 or 500 metres. Sophie Caldwell's gone off the back of those 3, so, you know, I think the likelihood is she's going to be fighting for 5th, 6th place now, with Summer Cook running from behind her. I can't see her catching them back up. So yeah, this is really interesting, and we can see, I mean, Nicola Spirig doesn't quite have the firepower to get back on terms. If she did, she'd be going after her hard.
Well, at the moment, Kirsten Casper looks like she's going to get on the podium for the round, because the points she's going to score in the position that she is will get her ahead of Summer Cook. You see Cook just in the background there, but they're not far shy of completing the first lap of 2. And Casper is going to be hard to catch with that kind of a deficit, good as Cook is.
Yeah, a gap that went out initially of about 10 to 15 metres has stayed at it. I mean, that is enough to win this race with just over a kilometre left to go, and she looks relaxed, you know. She looks really relaxed. This Zafiris looks, you know, easy. She looks like she's got more in it if she needed it, and Nicola Spirig looks like she's giving everything she's got to get back on terms with it.
And a very tactical move at the position she did it. I mean, like you said, there's only slight uphill really in this whole course, and you know, going out of transition, she could see that Nicola was working very hard, but I think she's just really looked at this course very carefully and seen where she can make any advantage possible.
Well, last time we heard from Vicky, she was telling us that she thought Zafiris was struggling. Do you care to change your view now, Vicky?
I don't know what you mean. I don't remember saying that. Yes, just because Katie must have heard me, she has decided to show that she is in fact not fatigued in any way and has led this race straight out of transition. She really used that slight drag up to the first turn to make her move, and she's not looked back since. She's made a decent gap on these girls, and just keeping the pressure on is going to see her bring home the title.
Thanks, Vicky. You see Summer Cook actually has made up quite a bit of ground, Eddie. I thought that bike might have taken it out of her, but maybe not.
Yeah, I think Summer Cook's made up a lot of ground there. Had she been with them on the bike and managed to get around the course a bit better on the bike, I've got no doubt she'd be up there racing for it with Zafirez.
Summer looks like she's used that same little rise that Katie did and has actually moved into second place.
Well, if Summer Cook finishes second, then potentially she'll be second overall, even if Spirig was to finish third. And Spirig looks like she's struggling a little bit. Casper has gone ahead of her now, and Stimpson running just behind the Swiss.
Yeah, I think Summer Cook, she might run out a bit of road to catch Zafirez at the front here, but she's giving it a really good go. I think we're probably looking at first and second there, but you don't know. I think the three behind, again, they would have gone with it if they possibly could. And yeah, I think Spirig is out of those three. She's struggling. So yeah, it's interesting to see that maybe that's the toll of the races. That's what's taken on her. Maybe it is the fact that it's short and fast, and this is the first time we're seeing actually over 2K out of all the races. This is the only time they're going to run 2K potentially as fast as they possibly can.
Yeah, so at the moment, Zafirez looking good for the title. Summer Cook looking good to take second overall. There you can see the gap. They're well inside the last 600 or 700 metres here. Doesn't look to be any danger to Katie Zafirez, and she had a fair bit of pressure on her, Abby. You know, so many people were tipping her at the start, and she's delivered when she had to.
I think, you know, over the season she's probably come to get used to it a little bit, got better at coping with it. But I really tend to find that the way she has this poker face, the way she contains herself, that she just approaches every race as it is and goes out there to do a job. And I think that's becoming evident now, because she you know, as much as we're putting these 6 races together over the 2 days, I think she has really taken each race for what it is and putting her best foot forward, and she clearly states that she gets better as it goes on, and it's showing. She doesn't look like she's really doing much damage to herself out there. That poker face is playing perfect.
I think we've probably seen the battle for third place here with Spirig, Casper and Stimpson. Stimpson just looked like she was getting gapped. She's gone on a slight downhill and used it to get back on. This bit of the course is flat, and then you've got a little bit of downhill before you make the left-hand turn back into the transition area. I've got no doubt that Nicola Spirig will be using this slight downhill to get her legs moving and wind that sprint up.
Spirig is just an unbelievable competitor. I thought she was going to finish 4th or 5th, and she's got back into 3rd position, but it's all about Katie Zafirez here. So strong. Cook is certainly getting closer to her, but she may run out of road, so to speak. And look at Spirig getting the sprint on to try and stay ahead of Casper.
Yeah, she used that slight downhill there. You know, if it's much easier to get your legs turning, get that bit of momentum up on the downhill, and she used that to perfection just to get herself moving and get a gap on the people behind her and start making inroads on the people in front. Summer Cook's actually come really fast up to Zafirez in this last 200 metres. She's run out of road to catch her, definitely. I think Zafirez knows she's got it and is going to be comfortable.
She does. She was tipped by so many, but she still had to deliver, and she's done it magnificently. She won yesterday. She's going to win the Eliminator today. She's the overall champion with maximum points. Summer Cook finishes second. That will get her second overall. And Nicola Spirig got the better of Casper, and Spirig will finish with the bronze today and for the overall round. Brilliant effort as Jodie Stimpson comes in as the leading Brit.
Yeah, Jodie Stimpson was celebrating 5th place there. She must be happy. I know she's had a tough season, but so she's happy to be finishing races. Sophie Caldwell coming here in 6th. I think she'll be quite happy with that overall result, followed by Charlotte McShane. So these are the girls from the group behind now that have had to make up time on the run. She's got 7th and Clammer in 8th.
I think Caldwell will be very happy with that in this exalted company as the last few come on. Clammer and Emmy Chariot just finishing finally in 10th place. Some 45-6 seconds adrift of the winner's time.
Great race. One of the things we said, though, about we thought it might split up more because there's only 10 there. Didn't actually turn out to be true. We saw a pack of 6 of them come off the bike together, or nearly 6, 5 plus Summer Cook slightly behind. So, yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? And I wonder if it'll be the same effect in the men's or not.
Well, let's go down and hear from the woman who's won this event with maximum points. Katie Zafiris is talking to Emma.
Well, Katie Zafiris, you have just been misconsistent throughout this whole weekend, but you are the inaugural winner of Super League. Tell me how it feels.
Oh, it feels awesome. Well, the first round was really rough, and I think as the rounds went on, I got a little bit better, a little more confident in the wet. It's kind of nerve-wracking watching so many people go down in front of you, so I'm really happy. This is awesome.
You've had an absolutely stellar season. I mean, how does this compare?
It's just so cool. It's a different style of racing. It's a fun style, but it is so painful, and you cannot hide anywhere. So it was really a great experience.
Would we see you coming back to more of these races?
I sure hope so.
Well, you have done an amazing job. Congratulations, well deserved.
Thank you very much.
And that's the absolute point, Alistair, isn't it? There is nowhere to hide in this format. And the other thing she mentioned, seeing so many women go down, she raced smart and she stayed safe.
She did. Not only did she stay safe most of the time, although, you know, we saw her a bit far back in some of those early races, she just conserved energy really well. You know, we never saw her until it mattered, which effectively was, well, the run. A mile to go on the run, we saw her, and that she won the race. Absolutely perfect.
Great tactics from Katie. Great tactics, too, from Summer Cook, who finished runner-up today, and overall, she's down with Vicky.
Summer, they've just been talking about your tactics in the commentary box there. Would you say that was a tactical move you made on the last leg, or was that just hell for leather on the run?
The bike part definitely wasn't a tactical move. I just had nothing left on the bike. On the run, I knew when I made the pass I had to gap them or else it was game over. So I really just went for it, and I tried not to look back. I was running pretty scared at the end, but it worked out.
Did you really feel like you used this section up here out of transition on the second lap? Because that seemed to be where you really took the time out of those girls.
Yeah, you know, it doesn't look like a hill, but it's a slight uphill, and I think I am pretty good at hill running, so I just tried to think of it that way and use it to my advantage.
Well, it really paid off for you. You ran hard to the end, but second place on the day, second place overall. Well done.
Thank you.
If she could just improve a little on the bike, Alicia, she's going to be a real player in these events going forward.
Yeah, well, she swam well there, you know, out in the first few, and I think all the races. But yeah, the bike definitely let her down, and that's one of the interesting things about Super League. You would not necessarily see that in World Series on the more straightforward courses, but Super League, that technical ability or slight lack of it really cost her. I think it probably cost her winning that race, to be honest.
Well, that's the final standings, and in fact the first three home in the Eliminator, Zafiris, Cook and Spirig, are the first three also overall for the round. But it's been a really good weekend for the Americans, three of them in the top four. Nice to see Jodie Stimpson return to form as well. Good performance from young Sophie Caldwell, and Charlotte McShane finishing just below her. There's Charlotte. And some very tired and very relieved women. Right. Rachel Plummer, I think, is just pleased. It's all over. She had some real problems in the water. There weren't too many problems, though, for Katie Zafiris. And the other thing, Annie, is these women would have learned an awful lot about this format from this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. It's probably the first time most of these have raced anything quite like it. I know the relay is quite common now and they've tried that, but backing it up race after race is something really unique. 2 days of it backing up is something unique as well. And I think they'll probably have a bit of an advantage going into the next one.
Are you okay?
Well, Katie just checking everyone's okay. I think we can go down and hear from the third place finisher, Nicola Spirig. I think she's down with Vicky.
Nicola, third place on the day means third place overall. Are you still happy with that?
I'm still happy, definitely. It was tough today, but still good fun, and I'm really happy with third place.
You didn't make it look like it was tough. You were really dominant, especially on that last leg, led a lot of the bike. Was that a tactic?
Yeah, I thought, I don't know, 5 or 6, so if I ride it fast, the other one's going to be behind, and it's at least top 5, and I do what I can in the run. So
on that final bit of the run, it looked like you were maybe just coming back for one final surge to try and get Summer. Did you think maybe you could catch her?
I just thought, well, I'm here, I'm without my family, so I might as well just give it all and make it worth it.
I think you made it worth your while. Thanks for talking to us, Nicola.
Thank you very much.
If there was a trophy for the fittest mother in the world, she would probably win it. How does she keep peaking for these events? It's amazing at her age.
Yeah, I don't think probably. I think definitely, absolutely incredible. Yeah, I think she's a brilliant competitor. She knows what it takes to get into top form, or her and a coach do, and she goes out and does it, and she just loves it. She goes out. What else would she do otherwise? She's the best person to do it, and good on her. Long may it continue.
Yeah, and a smiling Katie Zafiris too. And it just shows how much experience counts in an event like this. I don't think it's any coincidence that Spirig's done really well. Katie Zafiris has done really well. I think we should give a lot of credit too to Sophie Caldwell, Ali. I mean, she's only 22. The way she swam today, she's approached this whole event in a really bold fashion. And she's got a really bright future in front of her, hasn't she?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talk about experience a lot, but I think at the end of the day, you can't get away from your physical ability is the main thing here. And I think, you know, Sophie's a good athlete. She has actually been around quite a long time, raced a lot on international circuit and, you know, done World Series, I think, far back as 2015, maybe in London, where she probably led out. So, you know, she has got a bit of that actual experience, you know, physically going out there and doing it. I think this format, to be honest, I think this format really suits her. I think the Olympic distance format is tougher for her. So, yeah, these short distance races where she can really make the most of hitting it out on the swim and using her kind of slight more fast twitch ability, and that's what she did. And to be honest, that is what racing is all about, triathlon is all about. It's about identifying and using your strengths. And that's what she's gone out there and done, and that's absolutely the right thing to do, and good on her.
Charlotte McShane, who finished 8th. We're going to have some cannon firing by the look of it.
I wonder what we're firing at. Hopefully not us.
No, we're not in the firing line, I don't think. They've got the full military dress on as well. That all looks rather splendid. There's the Union Jack, and a little bit of a breeze. Not actually as stiff as it was earlier. The rain, fortunately, has relented, although we've got some dark clouds just moving over. And, of course, we will have the men's Eliminator live coming up in just over an hour's time. Jodie Stimpson, welcome back to form to her. You mentioned she looked really pleased when she crossed the line in 5th. It's been a real stop-start season for Jodie.
Yeah, I think not even this year. I think she's had a tough few years since great results in 2014 when she won the Commonwealth Games that year and some great races in the World Series. I think she's had a tough few years, so I think she'll just be really pleased to be back on the race course, injury-free, and being able to do what she loves, which is race. Obviously getting a bit of a medical attention there. Hopefully it's nothing too serious, but yeah, I think she'll have really enjoyed it and taken a lot of confidence from that experience.
That vehicle actually does double as a boat as well, so at the moment the tide's out, obviously, but when the tide's in, it acts as a boat and takes you through the castle. Anyway, here is the final standings. Overall, Zafiris, Cook and Spirig is your 1, 2, 3. Kirsten Casper, so consistent again. The two Brits, Caldwell and Stimpson, Claire Michel, Rachel Klammer, Carolina Routier and Abrosimova. That's the cumulative points total. 50 out of 50. Can't really do much better than that.
No, I think she definitely put her stamp on this event, and she obviously, I mean, it sounds like a cliche, but deserves to win. Great across both days, but also really, really tactically great. Like we said before, on the two races today, where all she had to do was qualify, she just did what she needed to do. Perfect. Didn't risk too much, didn't use too much energy, and that allowed her to really give her all on that final stage.
Interesting, isn't it? In the inaugural men's event on Hamilton Island back in March, Richard Murray won both days. And here, Zafiris has done the same thing. I don't know what that tells us.
It tells us that the best athletes normally win, I think. It's fairly... I think sport, on its whole, you know, you can talk about as much as you want, but the people, you know, the person who's best on the day, who's fittest, who's best at this type of racing is most likely to win.
But they're best on 2 days, is what I'm saying. Best on day 1 and day 2.
Yeah, but it's pretty much the same, you know, one day after another. And, you know, we say that the events are slightly different, but it's still triathlon, it's still an endurance event. The races are 20 minutes, but add up to an hour total. And swapping the distances and doing various things, it's not actually that much of a difference, I don't think.
Well, they do deserve to get warm. Nicola Spirig there, just getting a warm top on. Katie in rapt discussion with somebody. Saw Summer Cook a bit earlier, just texting someone, no doubt with news of her second place finish.
Yeah, at least they are not looking like they've got to go out again now. You know, rushing around that 10-minute break between them, I think, is particularly brutal. They've got to quickly get some kind of nutrition in and fluids, and you know, keep the body moving. I think they're really enjoying not having to go back out there and looking forward to the presentation and relaxing for the next few hours, and maybe even watching the men that are coming up.
I'm sure they will watch that. Summer Cook there just making her way towards the podium, because we're going to have the presentation shortly, and it's just going to be one presentation because, as I mentioned, the order of finish in the Eliminator is the same as the overall order for the round, and there is an overall championship with further events to come. So we're going to spray some champagne about momentarily, present the medals. We can go down and join Emma for the ceremony.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to present the trophies and cheques to the female superstars of Super League Triathlon. Presenting the trophies today is local junior triathlete Grace Cabot, and presenting the cheques is junior Jersey triathlete Daniel Stokey. Presenting the champagne is Senator Lyndon Farnham, Minister for Economic Development, States of Jersey. In third place today and overall for the women's at Super League Jersey 2017 is number 18 from Switzerland. Let's give it up for Nicola Spierig. In second place for the Women's Eliminator at Super League Jersey 2017, number 19 from the USA, let's hear it for Summer Cook. And today's winner and the overall of Super League Jersey 2017, let's turn to number 16 from the USA, Katie Zafiris.
Well, three very happy women. Katie Zafiris with the biggest smile of all, and no wonder, with that healthy winner's check. Second place, Summer Cook. Actually finished on the same points total as Nicola Spierig, but because she finished ahead of Nicola in the Eliminator, that's why she is deemed to have finished second overall, with Nicola third. But I don't think Nicola can have any complaints whatsoever. We heard her say how
Let's give it up
delighted
for
she
our
was
women's podium finishers of Super League Jersey.
with her performance. She's had a lot of practice of spraying some fizzy stuff around all year as Zafiris, and on plenty of podiums, on the overall podium for the WTS. And I think momentarily Emma's going to have a word with all three of these women who've been
Well, Nicola,
superb
we
all
have
weekend.
seen you, we know your name, Olympics, but tell me how this compares.
It's really tough as well, but it was good fun. I think it was tough for everyone today with the weather and with the format, but well done to the girls, and I think I did my best. I'm very happy.
Well, we're very happy to see you here. Summer, are we going to see more of you at these sorts of events?
I think so. It was a lot of fun. I was really nervous yesterday morning and I wasn't sure what to expect. I was a little bit scared, but I ended up thinking last night that was yesterday's format was one of the most fun races I've ever done. Today was pretty fun too, but I'm still in a little bit too much pain to appreciate it yet.
Well, you deserve to recover. And Katie, you've had a stellar season, but winning Super League Jersey, is it a format that you want to see more happening?
Oh, for sure. I mean, this was super hard and honest race, so and fun in a twisted way. So I would love to do more of these.
Congratulations to the three of you.
Well, fantastic weekend for all three of those women, and there's still more to come with the men's event to follow. But Katie Zafiris is the inaugural Super League triathlon champion from here in Jersey. The weather's improving. The men are next.
What a race that was. That was fantastic. In the wet, in the dry, had to have all the technical skills, all the power and all the consistency, and Katie Zafiris certainly had all of that.
Oh, without question. It wasn't enjoyable. The wet weather played a big part earlier, but it dried out. The pace was hot in that second and third event. I loved it.
It looked hard, so it's nice to be up here in the studio, isn't it?
Oh, we'll warm up here. We had the best view of the entire event, but Katie was just so strong. She looked a little bit wobbly, I thought, in race 2, but in race 3 she just put it all down and dominated.
There was a lot of key points across those 3 stages, and one which really stood out to us was the sort of swim stand-up point in the boy in the second stage, because it really hurt a lot of athletes here. I see Rachel Clammer and Non Stanford who went on to probably fall off the pace a little bit after something like that.
Well, she survived this, but it was Non that had the biggest problems, and Claire Michelle that was the real casualty out of that.
When something like that happens in the water, it can throw your pace, can't it?
Well, you swallow so much water. You saw Rachel was the one who sat up, adjusted her goggles. It created the concertina, and Non really got dunked, and she just seemed rattled after that.
1 hour until the men's, and that is going to be huge.
I'm looking out the window. I'm hoping the rain comes off. The men's are going to attack this. After seeing the women, it could be some spills.
Will we see the same guys up the front?
I think you've got to take the form guide from yesterday. We saw that in the women's. The same people came to the front, and I think Christian Blumenfeld showed that he was the man to beat.
Christian Blumenfeld doesn't leave anything out there. He's not known for his bike handling skills, but he is for his power. He might have too much power for the wet ground. We're going to find out in 1 hour, so make sure you come back and join us at 4 o'clock British summer time for the men's Eliminator.